Hi, everybody, and welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 20. I am your host, and along with me, as always, is my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jackson.
Hey.
Nice one. 20 episodes, buddy. That
Nice.
is like 5 months of
It should
podcasting.
be like 25 special or something, because isn't 25 like a good number?
I guess it could be. We could do something
theory.
special.
Yeah.
So that's 5 months of podcasting for something I thought we were just starting as like a hobby during the pandemic that I thought would be over by now. But not only is it not over, but it looks like it's ramping back up. But I think now this podcast...
To be a semi-successful thingy.
I think this podcast is now just part of our routine, right? And we'll probably always just keep doing it, I would think, at this point, for the foreseeable future anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it looks like the lockdown is looming in our area. It is to the south of us. We are not quite there yet, but we are in a red zone, as it's known where we live. So, I don't know, we can still go out and do a few things. We did get to the plaza today to get our lunch.
And other things.
And stopped at the dollar store to grab some decorations, and your younger brother was able to come with us because his basketball training has been postponed due to Corona stuff. That was fine. So yeah, he came with us, and we got some pizza and booster juice. What'd you get?
Booster juice.
And what flavor?
My usual, the Funky Monkey one.
Funky Monkey every time. I'm back to the Strawberry Storm this week with my coffee on deck, ready to go.
Of course.
So we were talking about it earlier. I thought with something here, we usually watch movies as a family, or I sort of dip in and out of the family movie viewing on Saturday nights. So we're talking about whether it's the appropriate time to start Christmas films. Is it too early? Is it okay? We're in December, so I feel like it's kind of okay.
Christmas with the crank.
We got some snow. So that was bringing us, to talk about Christmas movies that are a must in this house.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else watches Christmas with the Cranks, but...
So yeah, that was one that I never even watched before. We just sort of found it, I think, on Netflix one year, watched it when you were young, and you really liked it, so that's part of our routine. Home Alone, you plan on watching several times.
I'm planning on watching them both 5 times each.
Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yeah, the good ones that are worth watching 5 times each.
So my only must is Christmas Vacation. That's my favorite.
And not Home Alone? Wow.
I like Home Alone as well, but if I had to only watch one, it would probably be Christmas Vacation. We'll work in a little bit...
I don't know if I'd do Home Alone 1 or 2.
We'd work in a bit of Elf, too, probably. It's a pretty funny one. So yeah, we're just settling into sort of holiday stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else watches Christmas with the Cranks, but I think it's one of Tim Allen's best thingies.
Yeah,
and that Zoom Academy one.
It's basically they want to not do Christmas that year, and chaos ensues, basically.
I really like Concussion in that movie.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
So... Mandalorian, another solid episode last night.
That was so good.
Won't give any spoilers. We checked. It was a short episode, which is always frustrating. It was like a 35-minute.
Not to give anything away, but it was quite the cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, too, that it did. It was one of their episodes where it leaves you wishing it was an extra hour because you really want to see where it's going next.
And quite the return.
So they did a good job of that. Absolutely. Yep. Some characters are introduced, and they're quite interesting and reintroduced, I guess, as well. So...
Yep.
If you haven't seen that, obviously you know it's a great show, so I'm sure you're going to watch it.
You're a Star Wars fan.
It was quite enjoyable.
Watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shall we move into our news and rumors, get this show started?
If you'd like to.
I would love to. So I actually remembered to go back and get the ratings for last week because they were not published at that time.
I'd love to see you get last week's Impact ratings. That'd be hilarious.
Last week's Impact ratings? Yeah,
because
I love the show,
hilarious.
Right? I don't even know. Maybe I can find their ratings.
I don't know because what are they on again?
I forget what network it is.
They got banned on Twitch because of that RVD thing, but
that's
hold
fair.
on, let me see what they're on actually while you do your thing.
I actually looked up last week because it was Thanksgiving, so at the time we broadcast last week, the ratings were not available to us. So week 59 was last week of the Wednesday Night War, and it saw NXT defeat AEW Dynamite just barely in viewership, but not in the ratings in the key demographic. So last Wednesday's NXT averaged 712,000 viewers on USA, which just barely beat...
I think Access TV is it, sorry.
Just barely beat AEW at 710,000. NXT was up 11.6% and AEW was down 16%. But in the key demographic, AEW still won with a rating of 0.26, and that's the 18 to 49 demographic. I realize I haven't pointed out what specifically it was since early on in the podcasting history of us. So that was down 30%. NXT drew a .20, which was up 43%.
Nice.
So NXT with a slight win viewer-wise, and AEW with a slight win in the demographic. This week was a different story. And we agree not to spoil our reviews of things, but
agree wholeheartedly.
If the ratings were based on like effectiveness of the show, we would agree. So Winter is Coming edition of Dynamite drew 913,000 viewers,
awesome,
which is good.
And honestly, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense.
That's up 28.6% from last week.
Yeah, that's killer.
On TNT. And NXT got 658,000 viewers, down 7.6%.
That's honestly better than I expected.
So NXT won by lost by 39%. So that is a big difference from week to week, and a big difference in a single week of 913,000 to 658. So that is a very large win for AEW this week.
And a precursor of things to come.
And in the demographic this week, AEW drew a .42, which is up 61.5%. So that's great. And NXT drew a .16, which was down 20% from the demographic last week. So a huge margin of victory for AEW this week after NXT won by like the tiniest margin last week. I actually saw a couple places that said it was a tie at 7-12, but I went with my usual sources, and they had it at 7-12, 7-10. So it's tiniest win for NXT and a big win for AEW this week. What do you have for us?
So I think it's like, before I go into my stuff, but it's just like if NXT gets a win, it's very close, and then AEW usually comes swinging back. I feel
and
like.
WWE's whole point right now is they're just trying to take some ratings away from AEW, right? That's why they're not moving to another day or time, because they're basically pulling any ratings they can pull away from
Even
AEW.
if it's just
they're
like
happy.
A little bit, right?
Right.
So yeah. So unfortunately, WWE legend Pat Patterson passed away at age 79.
Yes.
They had a 6-man tag tribute match last week, and I saw something WWE posted on Instagram of the retro Intercontinental title.
Yes.
I think the first one.
The first ever Intercontinental Champion, right?
He won a fictional tournament.
He's been a fixture with the company backstage, on screen at various times in his career. Seems to be pretty much beloved in the locker room and by a whole bunch of people. So that's a shame, but nice to see
and former 24/7 champion.
Yes. Nice to see all the people that are sort of tributes to him and just nice comments and things they have to say. Seems like he was a very, very popular guy within the company for how many years? I don't know, 40?
Right.
A lot. Anyways,
decades
for sure.
Long enough that he was the first Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah,
Let's just say that.
Exactly.
Right. And another thing that you might not have known, but it's quite interesting, is Big E has a new theme and an entrance on that he debuted on last night's SmackDown.
I did not know that.
And he brought back the hand powder.
Oh, good. How was the entrance and theme and whatnot?
I didn't see too much. It looked alright. It was okay.
As
his
we always
attire
say,
is like the New Day thing with the singlet and the jacket. It just obviously doesn't have the New Day logos anymore.
I don't know what they're waiting for to push that guy. I really don't understand why he's not already a main event player. He has it all, in my
They really
opinion.
went all in with Kofi last year, and I think Big E has the same potential.
And then I honestly think you can turn him heel as well, which I'm not sure you can do with Kofi. I think Big E could be big as a face or a heel.
The way Kofi sells and just like he's just such a baby face, right?
Yep.
He's one of those wrestlers, but Big E definitely has that potential here. Right?
And if you're going to move him away from the New Day, you have to, in my opinion, you have to start pushing him. Cause
you have to make it seem worth it.
What else were you doing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then my third thing, my last thing, actually, I don't have that much this week. Next week's Raw main event. Well, actually, it'll only be in 2 days, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know.
We got Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus Miz, Morrison, and AJ Styles. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm confused if Sheamus is a babyface, but I'm not gonna even look it up because I do not care.
From what I like, when I listen to podcasts reviewing these shows, it sounds like he's a heel other than his interactions with McIntyre.
Huh.
I don't even know if that makes sense or if that's accurate,
no, it does
but
not.
that's the gist I'm getting from what I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also there's like something that says Randy Orton invites himself to the Firefly Funhouse, so he's gonna appear there.
Have you been keeping up with all the Bray Wyatt stuff? I have not.
No, but last I checked, he's feuding with Randy Orton, which makes sense actually if you flash back to 2017.
Yes, I've heard that Alexa's running the risk of like stealing the show sort of thing from him. Like she's more interesting at this point almost. I don't know. I haven't seen it myself, but that was the thoughts of somebody I was listening to, that they're thinking that Alex is almost upstaging him at this point in some scenes they're in together. So I hope not, but I mean, good for her. But
No.
if he's supposed to be the focus, so
Yeah, he is.
yes, you're a big Bray Wyatt fan for sure.
And Kip
the
Sabian.
Fiend, sorry, and Kip Sabian, yes. I mean, there are obviously a couple huge newsworthy things that came up on
Dynamite, but we'll talk about
we
those
were
at a timely manner.
Yeah, we thought we'd leave them out of the news. I'm sure everybody already is aware of them anyways, and we talk about them
just in case
as they sort of came up within the show. I really didn't pull anything else from news. We were talking, I looked at news and I thought it was non-news. I got clickbaited into that Tessa Blanchard article, right? It was like backstage news on Tessa Blanchard's...
I actually also found it on a website, knowing full well that it was like that because you already told me, but I just did it because, like, just to see for myself.
So we are huge Tessa fans, in-ring ability-wise, not as a person-wise, unfortunately. But yeah, the bait was basically backstage news on Tessa Blanchard's whatever future with AEW. So you click on it, it's basically like they're not interested in her. So not exactly
One
news.
thing I just thought of, because I'm probably gonna forget by the time we get to any other wrestling business.
Yeah,
but so Mia Yim, aka Reckoning, had a match against Dana Brooke on this week's Raw.
Yes, she did.
And her mask fell off.
I actually saw that. And she just
no-sold
it and just carried on as though nothing happened, basically, and fully wrestled.
I'm not sure if that's going to hinder her in any way, but...
Maybe it'll get her out of there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mercedes Martinez looks like a genius, am I right?
Yep.
For getting out of that angle?
Yeah. I mean, she's not doing anything right now, but dare I say that's almost better.
Yeah. Oh, 100% better. Go back to NXT and do nothing and train people. I would rather do. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that finishes up our news and rumors, I think, for the week.
Yes, it does.
So let's transition into a show I think I can say we both really enjoyed this week, right? And that is AEW Dynamite. So I'm turning that over to you.
Yeah, I can't wait to do the comparison between our two Wednesday shows, because there's really a lot to say when it comes to that, and I think we'll both get into that when the time comes.
Stark contrast for sure. Yeah. Yes.
But we got a nice opening to the show. Actually, we got our Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. We actually got one of these around the same time last year. And so the way this works, it's your traditional over-the-top rope battle royal with the last two survivors facing off in a one-on-one match next week. The two survivors last year were Hangman Adam Page and MJF got the victory there, and that's why you see him carrying around the ring for the past year.
That, to their credit, he has used a lot, right? It's not like it was just for nothing. He's used it.
Which I appreciate, and I think he's a perfect winner here.
Yep.
And he is in the match, so, and in my opinion, I think he's just defending it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think they've told us whether it's a new ring every year or it's the same ring.
I think it's probably defending it.
Yeah, like a belt, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except
that would make sense.
Like a belt for your finger.
It's like the women's belt.
Yep. Yeah.
The tiny little bracelet.
So it's weird. Everyone's standing outside the ring, and Nate was there, and he's like, "Is this a lumberjack match?" And it honestly appeared to be.
It did look like that. You could see why.
But then they all ran into the ring to start when the match started. Sean Spears and Scorpio Sky were just staring at each other outside the ring.
Yeah, I told Jack to focus more on storyline stuff because it's not a lot of action.
And then I'm just covering the eliminations as well.
Eliminations and any story progressions, basically.
So I think Isaiah Cassidy might have been eliminated by Matt Hardy, but I never really saw it. So, I think I might have heard them say it on commentary, so I just wrote that down.
Right.
So, Silver and Reynolds hit their double team combo to Serpentico, which looked pretty nice.
It did look nice.
And Hangman follows up by eliminating Serpentico, which I think we both found a little interesting, and then they were kind of celebrating.
Yeah, because they had that subtle, the Dark Order recruiting Hangman Page, right? So it's a little bit of a throwback to that, where you now have... They do a lot of the work, and then Hangman eliminates the guy, and they are they interacting together? So it was a nice little hint of something, right?
Right, and having the storylines run throughout a match like this
and
really does help.
Really subtle, and I thought that one was really clever, right? Just a quick
and
little thing. And
it always helps to have storylines throughout this, because then it doesn't feel just like a battle royal, right? It feels like a little more meaningful.
And something else I think that helps is the commentary team aren't going out of their way to point this out and remind us. They're just sort of letting it happen. Although I shouldn't say that too much, because I really have trouble when I'm taking notes focusing on commentary. But I know it. If it had annoyed me, I would have made a note of it, right? So they're not hitting us over the head with what's happening. They're just sort of letting it happen, letting us watch it and decide for ourselves, which I much prefer.
Mm-hmm. So Silver and Reynolds would then eliminate Luther. Sean Spears enters the ring and attacks Sky when Sky's down, and he eliminates Matt Sydal, and Sky takes advantage to eliminate Sean Spears. And after he's eliminated, Tully Blanchard hands some sort of object to Spears. I'm like, it's the steel slug, you
Yes,
idiots.
still the same thing every week.
And what else is he putting into a glove? A foam ball? Like, honestly.
Right.
And then he hits a cheap shot to Scorpio Sky, and Sky is soon eliminated by Wardlow.
Right. So that Sky and Spears storyline again being furthered within the boundaries of this Battle Royal.
I don't care about the feud, but at least it's like something going through the Battle Royal, I guess.
I feel the same.
Reynolds and Quinn both skin the cat, which is like where they go over the top rope, but they hang on to the rope, and they kind of kick each other, and then Silver accidentally eliminates Reynolds. So
right, so
Reynolds
then I'm wondering, is this the introduction of a storyline there, or a one-off, but again, something a little bit interesting, right? Yep.
And then Matt Hardy eliminates John Silver via low bridge, which is where he just avoids it, pulls it down the rope, and Silver goes out.
Yep.
Hardy and Quinn double team Hangman Page, and Hangman hits a fallaway slam on Quinn. Matt Hardy tries for an elimination, but Hangman hangs on to the apron. Quinn hits a drop kick off of Matt Hardy's back to Hangman, but the Dark Order catch him and put him back up.
Right.
A really nice buckshot lariat to Quinn, but then Matt Hardy eliminates Hangman Adam Page.
I thought Matt Hardy got a lot of shine in this too, right? He was eliminating a bunch of people, and the focus was on him at times in the beginning, I thought, for sure.
Yeah, which I don't even have an issue with it.
No, because he's trying to develop a new character too, right? Or a different character. I guess it's new to AEW, but he's kind of done it before.
Right. And then Orange Cassidy eliminates Kip Sabian.
Yep.
Sad face.
To further that feud as well, right?
Sabian pulls Cassidy out and attacks him, and Miro rolls out and attacks Cassidy too, so then he's really mad. And then Machka kicked to Lee Johnson, and I honestly found it funny how long Lee Johnson was in this match for.
Yeah, just to get killed by Miro then, right?
Yep. He also destroys Joey Janela. Quinn and Hardy attempt silly string, but it's thwarted by Miro, so he eliminates both Quinn and Matt Hardy. And then Miro eliminates Lee Johnson and Joey Janela.
Yep, my line is Miro kills jobbers.
Yep. MJF, Wardlow, and Sammy Guevara at the Inner Circle members in this match attack Miro. Wardlow and Miro have a big man face-off strike exchange. Then repeated strikes by Miro. Sammy and MJF hold Miro for punches by Wardlow. Miro is eliminated by the Inner Circle, so a good display for Miro, and then it takes more than 2 people to eliminate him.
And at this point, we're left with just 3 Inner Circle members and Jungle Boy, right? Down to the final 4, I think, at this point.
No, and Cassidy was knocked out of the ring, but I actually did forget.
Oh, right.
Right, and so there was an apron battle between Guevara and Jungle Boy. That was really cool. Then MJF shoves Guevara and Jungle Boy off, so he eliminates both of them.
Right.
And he claims he accidentally eliminated Guevara. So MJF thinks he and Wardlow won, but Wardlow reminds him Cassidy wasn't eliminated.
Which I love that one of the wrestlers actually remembered, right? So there's not the sneak attack by the guy that's been outside the ring, that Wardlow's actually smart enough to be like, nope, there's still one more person, right? I like that a lot,
so
actually.
Cassidy makes Wardlow nearly eliminate MJF, but he hangs out, and then he eliminates Wardlow. So we got Orange Cassidy versus MJF next week, which I think is a really interesting match. We get a best friends hug, and referees hold back Miro, and I just wrote it as a fun way to start the show.
Yeah, I thought this was a very well-executed match, and honestly, it's hard to have amazing action in a crowded ring in a battle royal, so telling stories is kind of what you need to do, right? Because there's really not room for much interesting to happen action-wise. So this acknowledged or furthered like a bunch of storylines, right? You've got Hangman Dark Order, Spears Sky, Wardlow MJF. There was a little hint of that.
Sabian and Miro versus best friends and Orange Cassidy.
Yes. You got heel
even MJF and Guevara's disagreements, right?
Yep. Heel Matt Hardy developing his character, and maybe even introducing a couple new things like Silver Reynolds tension.
And then it really feels like there's more to it than just the ring, right?
I even thought maybe there's somewhere to go with that Sammy Jungle Boy, the two of them just doing athletic things on the apron where they should be falling off, probably, right? That little series they did there. I was wondering if that's setting up something for the future. And then what I thought was cool too, once the numbers were down and there was room, they used that to sort of put over Miro here. He looked the best he's looked, I thought, by far since he's been here. So once there was enough room, they sort of let him just wreck a few people, which really helped him to look strong even though he was eliminated. So I thought, and battle royals I generally am not a fan of because WWE doesn't execute them well very often, in my opinion.
Except for the Royal Rumble.
I thought this was an excellent opener and a good example of how to do a battle royal. In my opinion.
I really liked it as well. So many storylines running through it really helped this match. They were all furthered to some extent, all the ones that we mentioned. And like I said, just it doesn't feel like meaningless or just about some ring, right?
Nope.
And I think Cassidy versus MJF will be such an interesting match because their characters are really polar opposite if you really think about it. Because MJF's just like this cocky, arrogant jerk.
Oh,
And, like,
drama, overreacts to everything.
Yeah, he cares about everything. And Cassidy literally couldn't care less.
Right.
I'm really hoping MJF either keeps the ring or gets a second one because I really love it as a way of cheating for him, similar to William Regal's Brass Knuckles or Mr. Fuji's Salt.
Yep.
And it adds to MJF's great heel character, right? So overall, I thought it was a great opener and sets up a cool match for next week.
And again, I like that the commentary team just sort of didn't crush us with all of these storyline things happening, right? It was just sort of, I thought it was really well done by everybody and a really good opener. And honestly, Battle Royals are not something I generally enjoy, and I enjoyed this one. So they did something right for sure.
Mm-hmm. Next, we got Chris Jericho versus Frankie Kazarian. And I just wrote right off the bat, given the surprisingly good tag match that we got last week, I'm going to give this probably a better chance than I would have otherwise.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match last week too.
So yeah, that gave this like a better chance for me. Like I'm more open to it.
That's fair.
Jericho throws the belt at Kaz and he throws it back. We get holds and counters. Obviously, roll up for 2 by Kaz. Eye poke by Jericho. Drop kick by Jericho. A slingshot leg drop on the apron by Kaz. Hager grabs at Jericho and Kaz pushes him off.
Yes.
That makes no sense. He grabs at Jericho?
I don't know. Is he trying to grab him to pull him out of the way or something?
I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember
but I'll just trust my notes.
Sure.
Oh, no, he grabs at Kaz and Kaz pushes him off. I just wrote it wrong.
That makes more sense.
Okay, I'm dumb. Codebreaker as Kaz is getting in. Jeez.
Distraction codebreaker.
And this wasn't the end, or even close. He didn't even go for a pin, which confused me. Jericho drops Kaz over the top rope, and we get an actual picture-in-picture.
That was a hard fall Kaz took to the floor there, I thought, going into the commercial.
Backslide for 2 by Kaz. Kaz gets Anias up on a lionsault and falls with a springboard 180 leg drop. Really gets some height on that.
Yeah, I thought there was a bit of a contrast here because both of these guys are older veterans and one moves around much better than the other one, shall we say.
Mm-hmm. Then we get a flux capacitor from the top rope for 2 by Kaz, which is very similar to with Spanish Fly. If you've never seen Spanish Fly or flux capacitor, I encourage you to look it up.
It's kind of like a Spanish Fly crossbody off the top. It looks awesome. I think he might be the reason it's a flux capacitor. I'm not sure if anybody else does it and calls it that first, but he's been doing it for quite a while, just not very often.
Yep, and then Kaz counters a codebreaker into a Boston Crab. MJF runs out with a towel, but Sammy stops him. Jericho gets the rope break. Jericho's distracted by Sammy with the towel. Kaz gets a roll-up, but only a 2 count. And then Judas Effect for the win by Chris Jericho. Sammy and MJF are shoving each other, and I think it's played off as Jericho thinks Sammy is going to throw in the towel.
Right.
And Hager and Wardlow are also arguing, and Jericho tells them to stop. Jericho says either they all work together or they split, and they got a week to think about it. And a decent match, I thought, that had some good spots, but overall, I don't think it was terrible or offensive.
No.
Or, it wasn't great or terrible.
I thought it started out slowly, and then the action was building nicely, and I was actually kind of getting into it. And then all of the interference from the inner circle, and then it was just like a sudden end where I thought Kaz looked a little bit silly because he's kind of standing there and walks right into Jericho's finisher. But at the end of the day, no offense, this is just Kaz, right? And the real point was to show the fractures within the inner circle, which seems to be happening really quickly. But anyways, I guess we'll see where it goes. So I thought...
To be fair, it started before MJF even joined.
I thought
the jackets.
Just as the match was starting to get good, in my opinion, then it sort of suddenly stopped. And I hate to say this because I've loved Jericho since forever, but I think it might be time for him to focus his energy in tag matches because he's not working at the pace that he used to work at or anywhere near it. And I think maybe the tag with Swagger is a good idea.
To the point where I'm Hager. To the point where I'm quite impressed where he can still do a lionsault.
He can. He can still do some stuff, and he's not a bad wrestler, but I have, almost 30 years of just remembering him, right? And he's definitely lost a step or two. But he's still phenomenal considering all things considered.
Yeah, especially in character. Because if you got it, that you can always kind of have that. But when you're wrestling, like, because he was a cruiserweight, right, in WCW, and always had like that light heavyweight style. When you're wrestling that, especially in the physical condition he's in right now, not that it's terrible, it's just not as good as it used to be.
Right.
It's always gonna kind of slip away. I feel like, so
Yep.
it's not even his fault. It's
And
just
maybe that's why he's
happens.
transitioning to the tag team, right?
Right.
They're aware of it.
And that's probably why they're also focusing on his character work as well.
Yep.
Next we got Young Bucks interview. We're gonna get Bucks versus TH2 next week.
Yes.
And the Acclaimed interrupt. They are a tag team that's primarily featured on Dark.
Yes. I know Max Caster from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood this year.
He raps about the Bucks book being trash, among other things, and then he's like, look behind you, and TH2 attack the Bucks, and then SCU chase away the heels for some reason.
I didn't love this. I didn't think the rap was very good.
But I think it was just short, so I didn't really care.
I didn't think it was a strong debut for Caster and the other guy on Dynamite.
Bowens.
But it was short, so it didn't offend me that much. I didn't think it was good, but it was over quickly.
Agreed. Next we get Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch.
Yeah, we do. And there was a tiny bit of a promo before, right?
Yeah, Britt Baker has a pre-match package. Says she, as the face of the division, she had to get rid of the trash, and Thunder Rosa doesn't belong in AEW, and she says she's gonna send Hirsch back to Russia.
I like that they're sort of clearly building to this Thunder Rosa Brittany Baker, because that is where I think they need to go. I think that's where the interest is in this division, so I'm glad that that's where they're going.
Agreed. So a Fujiwara armbar attempt by Hirsch is right out of the gate, but Baker quickly gets to the ropes. And then we get some holds and counters. A really weird-looking super kick by Baker.
Yes.
Looked really soft.
It did. It looked like the camera angle they showed it. It looked like it was almost like her foot was like resting on Hirsch's face.
Yeah.
I think it was just mostly the camera angle they chose was not good.
Yeah. And then we got a DDT by Baker. Strikes in a German suplex by Hirsch. Suicide dive by Hirsch, but Baker pulls Rebel to take the hit. Sling blade by Baker on the outside. Pump knee by Hirsch and a cross armbreaker attempt, but Baker counters a no lockjaw. Hirsch counters back into the cross armbreaker. Baker gets out, but Hirsch hits a pump knee. Rebel distracts the ref as Baker takes control, and then we get a drift away by Baker, followed into the lockjaw, and Hirsch submits. So Britt Baker gets the win, but Thunder Rosa quickly attacks afterwards, and then we get a brawl, referee separation.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good match.
Agreed.
My only criticism was it was maybe a bit long, and I can't believe I'm saying this because, I love Layla Hirsch, and I think her potential is huge. She might have even gotten a bit too much, because basically, like, Brittany Baker's the one being pushed to the moon here, and she needed help to beat Hirsch, who's really just been like a dark standout, right, to this point. But I'm okay just because I think Hirsch is awesome, and she had some really cool looking offense in this match.
I think this would have been kind of cool if it was like, I think they both looked good, and I think it'd be cool because there's a slight possibility of an upset for Hirsch.
Yep.
I think it would have been cool if Rosa had distracted Baker and Hirsch got like a cool win, but like it's not. It's kind of tainted because obviously they're feuding, but
right.
But the aftermath furthers an interesting feud, and
it does.
Keeps me engaged. So. And
I think Hirsch is signed officially now, right? So I think as long as she stays far away from WWE, where they will make her a joke due to her stature,
they'll make her less athletic, Casey Catanzaro.
But she is, she's legit, right? As I think is part of her gimmick. She is a legit wrestler, and she's converting to the professional wrestling style, and she looks really good to me.
Yeah, she was. They both had good showings, and it was decent.
Yep.
So
I enjoyed that match, actually.
We got a quick recap on the Team Taz versus Cody and Darby Allin feud.
Yes.
All the stuff that happened last week and the other tag match and all that jazz. So then we get Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin versus Team Taz, which is Will Hobbs and Ricky Starks.
Right.
And Darby Allin skates out of the parking lot right to the ring steps, and it was slanted, so it's basically like that cool ramp entrance you used to do, and I was so happy.
Jack is a big fan of the skateboarding in.
Because he just goes down the ramp, he just looks so chill, he's not even doing anything, just rolls down the ramp.
It's cool. It's unique for sure.
So
I like
dope.
it too.
And we get a brawl, and then the match starts. Cody hits a dropkick to send Hobbs out of the ring, and I cringe every time they say Powerhouse Hobbs.
It's not great.
And so your starting men for this match are Darby Allin and Ricky Starks. Cody tags in quickly. A non-picture-in-picture commercial break cuts off Excalibur as he's saying something, which I laughed so hard.
Yeah, it was a very awkward throw to the commercial by JR and then
It was
Excalibur.
so funny.
JR threw to the commercial, and then it was like Excalibur realized the commercial wasn't coming, so he tried to say, and then the commercial did come and cut him off.
It was so funny.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
So we get a stalling Gourd Buster by Cody. Corner chop exchange by Starks and Cody. Allen tags in. Starks slaps Darby Allin. Darby chases Starks around the ring, but is flattened by a clothesline from Will Hobbs. Hobbs sends Allen into the barricade, and he tags in. Stalling suplex by Will Hobbs. Ricky Starks tags back in. A double team alley-oop slam by Team Taz. A body slam by Ricky Starks. Hobbs tags in and steps on Allen, which is just kind of always a cool move when you're a big man, because it's just like you're hardly doing anything, but you're causing the other person so much pain, right?
Absolutely.
A sidewalk backbreaker by Hobbs, and Ricky Starks is tagging in again. Head collision for Starks and Allen, and Cody's revving up the crowd. Hobbs tags in. A German suplex attempt by Hobbs, but Darby picks the fingers. Bear hug by Hobbs, and he throws Darby Allin to Team Taz corner. Sunset flip by Darby is blocked. Overhead throw by the ears by Hobbs.
That looked pretty cool.
Yep. And Ricky Starks tags in. Darby flips out of consecutive back-to-back suplexes attempted by both members of Team Taz, and Cody gets the hot tag. Clotheslines to both, and then a scoop slam to Ricky Starks by Cody. Cody cutter as Darby tags his leg, and Cody takes out Hobbs as Darby Allin hits the coffin drop for the win.
Right.
And Allin and Rhodes get the win. And then Hobbs attacks them. Arn tries to attack Hobbs. Team Taz double team Arn. Dustin Rhodes makes the save. Bulldog to Hobbs and scoop slam to Starks by Dustin Rhodes. Brian Cage attacks Rhodes, hits the F10. And then Cage and Starks hold Cody for a belt shot. Lights out, and I was super excited, and it was Sting.
So
Sting comes out the bat, then the heels leave, I guess, and then he stares at Cody.
Yep.
And then Darby. And I wrote all caps, what is the point of this? I'm just going to say my opinion because I need to get this out of here, but it was a good match with a good ending sequence. I like the double kind of signature move, the Cody cutter and the coffin drop. And the attack afterwards was pointless other than to set up Sting. And when the lights went out, I was actually excited thinking it would be something cool, right? Like some new indie star or like something cool, but not a washed up WCW guy. Like first, like come on AEW, first Jade Cargill with friggin' Shaquille O'Neal and now Sting. Like, you gotta be kidding me. I got away from WWE to avoid dumb celebrity crossovers and pointless returns and debuts, and here it is. Like, the near perfect wrestling promotion is doing this stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Like, it's just so stupid.
This is just all about
like,
getting...
Sting doesn't belong here.
It's all about getting them social media attention, which it is. And I am also not a Sting fan. I'm not a heavy nostalgia guy. I'm not looking for people to pull from the past. I'm looking for them to like draw to the future sort of thing.
Right, and this is the opposite of what they should be doing.
So as a business move, I 100% get it. The attention they've gotten off of this already has made it worth it for them, I am sure. Again, I was never really a huge Sting fan as a guy. I feel like I repeat myself all the time, but this was the guy that was at the top of the roster always, and that's not where my favorite people are always in the mid card for some reason. So as a lifetime top of the card guy, I've never been a huge Sting fan. Like he's fine, and there's been times where he's cool and he's put on some cool matches, but this wasn't for me. This was
so unnecessary.
So social media can have this one. I think we're probably the only people not just super pumped about Sting. Sting return. Neither of us, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and just to recap, I thought the match was pretty good. A little short, and then the aftermath was pointless.
I didn't like this match. There was something weird about it. About halfway through it in my notes, I have, why do I feel like this match is killing the show's momentum right now? It felt slow. Hobbs' early offense wasn't that great. He did have a couple spots where he's ragdolling Darby.
I agree. It was kind of slow until like the finish. It was just like, boom, double finisher.
Well, and you know why it was slow? Because it was my initial feeling, and then having you recap it was true. Darby Allin did nothing. Like, I don't watch a Darby Allin match to just have him get dominated and hot tag to Cody.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see Darby Allin flying around the ring and doing his cool little escapes.
I didn't even think of that.
He didn't do anything.
Other than flipping out 2 suplexes.
Allin was grounded and didn't show off any speed, and it was basically like we were waiting. The match was sort of waiting for...
I didn't even think of that.
The match was sort of waiting for Cody to get in, right? And then the aftermath... I'm sorry, AEW, I get what you're doing. It's just not for me. It's not. I know the attention and everything is totally worth it for them.
Yeah, I know. And I literally, with the internet, may blow up and go bonkers. But what's the point other than nostalgia?
I would rather the time being spent on a 61-year-old go to somebody young on the roster, right? Like, find the next John Silver and start building them slowly.
Instead of, like, the Sting thing, couldn't they have the match go a little longer and maybe get that Darby Allin thing you're talking about? Like... Honestly,
I had been really enjoying the show up until this match. Not that this killed the show for me or anything, but it
was just a little slower compared to even the Jericho.
Well, because these 4 guys in the ring, I was like, all right, cool, let's see what's gonna happen, and it was just not
right.
What
just
I
expectations given the talent involved.
Yep.
I think, and Sting, go away, please, thank you.
Whatever, it's fine.
Then we get a Hikaru Shida interview. She claims she's not scared of Abaddon, and Abaddon's just a cosplayer. And then she hears a noise and runs off, so I guess she is scared of Abaddon.
I thought it was fine, but I really did not, and I may be being nitpicky. I did not like the cosplay zombie thing, because at this point, Abaddon is supposed to be terrifying and real, and I don't need it.
right off the bat, right?
Right, I don't need... Before she's got any traction in the company, we've already got somebody referring to her as zombie cosplay. I did not think that's helpful at all. But I don't think Shida probably chose those words herself. I don't know. Maybe she did. I thought it was fine. Other than that, I don't think we need to be taken out of...
Maybe it's just her trying to pretend she's not afraid. Maybe
it was, but I think the choice of words doesn't help. I don't want to be taken out of Abaddon's gimmick yet. You know?
Right. So we're gonna get Lance Archer and the Lucha Bros versus Eddie Kingston, Butcher, and Blade next week, which I think looks pretty cool.
Yep.
Like Lance Archer and Lucha Bros, is that not a badass team?
That could be good.
And then Sting speaks next week. I wrote in brackets, groan.
Yes, you are negative towards the Sting. It's true.
I want him to go away right now.
I know you do.
Then we get John Moxley promo. He talks about how far AEW has come. Says he and Omega were always destined to be rivals, whether they knew it or not. And he says the contracts have been signed, the promos have been cut. So the only thing left to do is to make the fans go bananas.
So he uses the phrase absolute banana. You know why?
Yeah.
I thought that was an odd choice for Moxley, right? Because it's not like fitting with his tone. Apparently, that is a nod to Pat Patterson. That is something that he used to say. So in hindsight, I think that's a really cool little subtle tribute by Mox. And I didn't either. I heard it somewhere else. So that's really cool if that's the case, and it probably is.
Yeah, because I don't think he would say that otherwise. So that's
right, and that's why it caught me off guard. And then apparently that is a nod to Pat Patterson.
Huh, interesting.
Yep. So another solid Mox promo.
Yeah.
What I feel like a broken record.
I can't remember the time in AEW where he's had a bad promo.
No.
So, just another good segment from John Moxley.
Absolutely. Main event time.
So then, not quite.
Oh, sorry.
But Don Callis, quick interview, but basically main event.
Yep.
So whatever.
Main event adjacent.
Callis says Omega has asked him to be here, so he's going to be guest commentary for our main event. As Don Callis said, he was trained by Omega's uncle. Yes. He's a family friend of Kenny Omega. And
you went out of your way to tell me that you think Callis is good on commentary, and so do I.
Yep.
There are times where his character gets too ramped up and whatever, but when he's just doing
just as the majority, like just overall.
If he's just doing straight up commentary, he's very smart, and he's been around this business forever, and he speaks really well.
Yep.
Yep, he's an asset.
And I think he's just gotten, no offense to Josh Matthews or Matt Stryker, he's just got a better voice, I think.
He sounds great. I agree.
Right. He just sounds like he's just got the right sound. I think.
And he's Canadian.
So John Moxley versus Kenny Omega, AEW World Championship, your main event.
I was excited
I just
for
wrote
this.
No Broom Girls, and I wrote yay.
I put relying on Jack's notes for this, because I'll probably just watch it.
I wouldn't have any problem with them if they didn't wear the Lucha Bros masks that one week. That was very disrespectful.
It's a lot of attention to the Broom Girl ladies.
I know. I feel bad for even giving them any attention, but they disrespected the Lucha Bros. That's not nice. Okay, so match starts. And we get holds and counters. Shocker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Corner chops by Omega. Forearms by Mox. Hurricane Rana by Omega. Back in the ring after they were outside briefly. Black hole slam by John Moxley. Clothesline while Omega's on the apron by Mox. Omega sends Mox into the barricade. Mox hits a suplex on the outside. A brawl behind the barricades in like the ringside crowd area. A springboard dropkick to the leg by Omega, followed by the Kataro Crusher for a 2 count once they get back into the ring. Omega is targeting the leg with drop kicks in the ropes. A big lariat by Moxley, and then a knee bar by Omega, but Mox gets to the ropes. Chops and leg kicks by Omega. German suplexes by Mox. A pump handle exploder suplex by Mox for 2, which looked really cool.
Yep.
And then the X-Plex, one of your favorite moves.
Love the X-Plex.
Peter Dune.
Yep.
For 2 by Mox. I thought it looked pretty cool. I remember TLC 2016, he did that to AJ Styles.
Right.
On some chairs.
Some chairs.
Yep. So then we got a Tope Con Hilo by Omega post-commercial break. He always gets good jump on it. He does the version where you like spread your legs a bit.
Yeah, it looked cool for sure.
Sami Zayn and Buddy Murphy, I know, used to do that. Well,
yep.
I don't know if Sami Zayn does it anymore, but I know Murphy does. So a paradigm shift by Mox and doesn't go for the pin. He throws in some chairs. He sets the chairs out. And Omega slaps Mox at Mox's request, and then they have a slap exchange and then a punch exchange.
While sitting in chairs.
And then Omega staggers up to his feet and then hits just a big V trigger.
Yes. Which
looked sick, and then a Snapdragon suplex, and then another Snapdragon suplex. Mox avoids a V trigger and hits a German suplex. Omega blocks the lariat and hits a standing V trigger. Omega runs the ropes and gets caught with the lariat anyways, which looked amazing.
Yes.
Paradigm shift for a very, very near fall. Omega counters a suicide dive with the V-trigger, which looked cool as well. Top rope drop kick to the back by Omega. V-trigger to the back in the corner by Omega, followed by the Tiger Driver by Omega for a 2
which
count,
I enjoyed.
Which was very close.
Yes.
Repeated knees by Omega, not V-triggers, just straight knees to the face. Mox blocks the V-trigger. Mox blocks.
Poet.
Forearms by Mox. V-trigger. Mox escapes the one-winged angel, counters by both guys. A ripcord V-trigger by Omega, which looked pretty cool.
V-triggers all day.
Yep. A lot of V-triggers, I'm just going to say right now.
Can't have too many still, I don't think.
Mox escapes the one-winged angel once again. Omega transitions into a wheelbarrow suplex for 2. As Mox is trying to escape, he drops him down into a wheelbarrow suplex, which looked really cool. Omega jumps off the top turnbuckle to avoid a Mox attack because he was on the top rope. Mox was about to get him, so he just jumped off anyways. And a paradigm shift on the outside into the heaters.
Yes.
They had some heaters.
Because it was actually cold there that night, so they had heaters running.
And referees and Don Callis are checking on Omega. Mox pushes the refs away, rolls Omega in the ring. Forearms to the head by Mox. And Don Callis grabs the mic and says Omega's hurt, but Mox hits Callis, and Omega grabs the mic while the refs are checking on Callis. And hits Mox right in the face, and he's busted open bad. Alright, you ready for this?
Yeah.
V-trigger, V-trigger, V-trigger to the back of the neck.
Yes.
V-trigger in the corner, and the one-winged angel for the win. Kenny Omega's your new AEW World Champion. And Callis escorts Omega backstage. They run away. And Callis tells the interviewer that they'll find out next on Impact next week.
Yeah.
Which... Like, what?
Blew up the internet. Apparently crashed Impact's website shortly after.
What a ending sequence, let me just say. Mike shot and then
4
V-triggers galore. Like, holy. I thought this was really good.
So this match was weird for me. It started out so slowly to the point where I was like starting to get frustrated. And then I think it was after the sitting down slap exchange, it just like kicked into hyper speed, right? For the last
and I think in hindsight, it was just
so.
like, if you look back, it was pretty good.
Well, yeah, and if that's what I was going to say, like if you start out that slow, as long as it builds, man, as long as you pay off that slow build,
that's
I don't
how good
care.
matches work,
exactly.
Though, right?
So they took me right to the brink of like, what are these guys
doing? Which I think is almost a good thing.
I ended up really enjoying the match. I
loved the ending sequence.
I loved Omega and Callis escaping like scalded dogs, as JR would probably say, right? Like thieves in the night, just running right out of the building with the title.
And I just really felt like this was the big match it was meant to be.
It was. The second half of it was just nonstop rock. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was really hoping about the Hangman thing that would come to fruition, but it could still come to happen, I guess.
See, I thought this was a really strong main event, and so now this is the part we didn't put in the news, right? This whole Impact thing. So and
Omega winning the title.
The reliable sources that I'm reading are saying that this is not a lingering agreement, that it's basically going to be a one-off.
Because Callis.
As a thank you for Callis coming and doing things, right? So that past this Tuesday, Omega won't be there. So that's from fairly reliable sources. So that's probably the case. But it's even that, it's adding huge. We were talking about it on our walk back from getting lunch, right? In a perfect world, Impact uses this to get attention, eyes on their show for a week.
They put out a good product.
So
right?
They need to put something that's going to hook people into coming back. So for them, it makes total sense. And I hope it helps Impact because I want Impact to be good. More good wrestling in my week is better, obviously. So I loved this match. I thought it was time to put the belt on somebody else. Omega is a great choice. His character right now is awesome. His pairing with Callis, I love it. And just, I don't know, those image of them just running out of the ring was cool. Yeah. Very cool to me.
So I thought this show was really good. It truly felt like a TV special and the big show they've been advertising it to be.
But what happened after the main event? That little nugget that I also thought was awesome. Did you not make a note of Kingston?
Oh, yeah.
So the show ends with just Kingston has made his way to ringside, I guess, and is on a mic.
He just says something.
And saying that he wants Lance Archer right now. And so I thought this was cool, too, because it's kind of like, what the heck is going on? And then the show's over.
Right.
So it's like that.
I've totally forgotten.
It's kind of like the chaos that WCW used to do really well for a bit, and then they went too far, where the show kind of ends with you going, what's going on, right? So I thought that was a cool little
that's
end.
what I was like at The Mandalorian, not going to lie.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. Like, what is Kingston doing? Are they going to fight right now when we're going off the air, right? It's that sense of unpredictability to end the show that it's like when NXT used to make me watch right to the end, because after the NXT bug logo comes up, there was always something cool.
That happened, I think, when Ciampa turned heel, right?
That was amazing. Every week they were basically doing so you had to watch to the very last second.
Or, but like sometimes they would put that and then they would be over just to fool you, and then sometimes they'd put that up.
Yep,
and
they're always getting you to watch to the last second.
Right.
So
which is always clever.
What did you think about the episode overall?
I thought the Battle Royal was really fun and sets up an interesting match next week and continues a bunch of storylines.
Yep.
Jericho and Kaz was surprisingly like decent and sets up an interesting segment in that Inner Circle Ultimatum that's going to occur next week. Britt Baker and Layla Hirsch put on an interesting match that was okay. It didn't disappoint, but it wasn't super impressive either. And the Aftermath is continuing a feud that I am quite interested in. The tag match was good, and I enjoyed it a bit, but the Aftermath was
not your favorite.
And then the main event was truly the icing on top here, and I think they sprinkled in some good interview segments like the Jon Moxley promo.
Yep.
And that just helped the show kind of move along. And I thought this was a really, really good show.
So what'd you give it?
I give it like probably an A. Barely an A+. Like, I really liked it.
Awesome.
It was good.
So I really enjoyed this episode of Dynamite as well. I thought it was bookended like beautifully, right? You had an amazing match to start and end in
and like a cliffhanger.
Two very different styled matches that they executed really well. In between, there was a solid Baker Hurst match, a pretty good Kaz Jericho match, despite me not.
Okay tag match.
I didn't love the end of it, and I didn't care much about Sting showing up, but that's just us. I think we're very unique in that case. A bit of a disappointing tag match with Allen, Cody, Hobbs, and Starks, but definitely some intrigue for Tuesday night with Callis, and the main event was amazing. I gave the show an A-, and I feel like it flew by and was pretty enjoyable to watch. But I made a note, I don't remember, maybe you know, I made a note here, the card for next week's show does not look very strong.
Other than Cassidy and MJF, in my opinion. Well, and that 6-man tag, actually. Yeah, so there's only a couple matches.
I just remember they ran down the card, and I was like, really? That does not look great to me. But
yeah, but who knows?
The best wrestling I saw this week, I think, was... actually, it's close. We'll get into it in any other business. It's pretty close, actually. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's transition into Off the Top of His Head, where I come up with trivia questions and Jack crushes it every week pretty much. So this week I decided, I don't know why, where I come up with these things, but it's NXT trivia this week.
Ayo.
Okay. So this is mostly courtesy of beloved of yours, What Culture.
Yay!
And then some of my own research as well. So for most of the first chunk of questions, if you need it, I have multiple choice options. So what I think I'll do is I'll give you the question, and then if you want the options, you let me know, okay? Like if you don't know it all and you're about to guess, you can ask for the options. And if you know, just tell me. At which takeover did Finn Balor debut his demon gimmick? Ooh, I thought this might be one that you know because you pay attention to makeup and outfits.
Was it NXT TakeOver Rival?
It was not.
Our Evolution?
Do you want the options?
Was it TakeOver Our Evolution?
Do you want the options?
Was it?
It was not.
Okay, sure.
Brooklyn 2, Our Evolution, or War Games?
I just said our evolution.
It's one of those,
Oh.
and I just told you it
Brooklyn,
wasn't that.
I guess.
Correct, Brooklyn.
I could have sworn he
I
did that.
think you're missing the
did it
point of
before
the
that.
multiple choice options. If you feel like you're just guessing,
I could have sworn he did it before that though, like in one of the Performance Center ones with Hideo Itami.
well then you'll have to take that up with What Culture, because that was one of theirs.
And plus, he even used that Beast in the East before Takeover Brooklyn. That's not right.
But it was for NXT. Does Beast in the East count for NXT?
No, but he did it at Takeover before that. I know it.
I don't know. You're gonna have to take that up with
Multiple
What Culture.
takeovers.
Anyways, which of these NXT superstars have won a title or a tournament in NXT? Okay, so which of these four have either held a championship or won a tournament? Alexa Bliss, TM61, American Alpha, Lars Sullivan.
Well, Lars Sullivan hasn't won any titles ever, so that's
Correct.
inaccurate.
I knew this one right away. I can't believe you don't.
I know too. It's American Alpha.
It is American Alpha.
And TM61 never did anything, unfortunately. And then Alexa Bliss has only held main roster.
And I don't know why American Alpha. They were awesome, and they should be a main roster.
When I started watching NXT, I remember seeing them beat the Revival.
I know why, because they hate tag teams in the main roster, and that's why. But anyways, those guys were awesome together.
They should have stayed in NXT.
So here's one that's going to be tough for you, and I actually had to do the research because I didn't know how old the article was, so I do have the right answer up to the minute. How many different NXT champions have there been in its history? Do you want options?
Let me
Or
think.
hold on, though, because I have a feeling I know what you're about to do right now. So can I jump down to my last question then?
What? Sure.
Which is, how many champions can you list in order, beginning with the starting?
Oh, I could do that.
Okay, so that'll help us. So go ahead. We'll jump
Seth
down.
Rollins.
Correct.
Big E.
Yes.
Bo Dallas.
Yes.
Neville.
Yes. So these are all in order, folks, from the beginning.
Sami Zayn.
Yes.
Kevin Owens.
Yes.
Finn Balor.
Yes.
Samoa Joe.
Yes.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yes.
Samoa Joe.
Yes.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yes.
Bobby Roode.
Yes.
Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
Andrade.
Mm-hmm.
Aleister Black.
Yes.
Tommaso Ciampa.
Yes.
Johnny Gargano.
Yep.
Adam Cole.
Yep.
And Keith Lee.
Yep.
Karrion Kross.
Yes.
And Finn Balor again.
That's pretty ridiculous. So that is correct. Now, because I had a feeling that's how you might try and figure out how many there's been. So based on that, 10, 16, 20, or 18? How many different champions, right? Okay. So not how many title reigns has there been, how many different champions? As my teenage son counts on his hands. You have to take your socks off for this one? I need the Jeopardy music right now. I'm hoping to get some gadgets for Christmas that are going to soup up this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Add some little audio things in there. We'll see if I can figure it out. I got stuff on my list, so we'll see what happens. I'm trying to vamp here while you count. Are you almost done?
18.
18 is correct. Very good. So,
nice.
This is obviously super easy. Who was the first NXT champion?
Seth Rollins.
Correct. This one I know you know because it's come up before. Which faction did Roderick Strong team with at NXT TakeOver War Games?
A.O.W.B.
Correct.
That's a tag team.
Which of these this one's really interesting, I thought. Which of these debuting superstars did not debut at a takeover at ringside?
Ooh, okay.
Right? I like this one.
I like that actually, because they did that a lot. I remember.
They did. So, Here are your options. One of them was not at ringside. Rude, Adam Cole, EC3, Drew McIntyre.
Adam Cole.
Correct. I vividly remember EC3 being there.
And I remember Drew McIntyre being there.
It was Adam Cole.
Yeah, because he attacked Drew McIntyre.
How many championships are assigned to NXT currently?
Like right now?
Yep.
Are we including UK?
I got this wrong. No.
Okay.
I forgot one.
So like current, like right now.
Yeah. So like men's, women's. 2, 3, 4, or 5?
5.
Correct. I had 4. I think I forgot about North America. Oh no, I forgot about Cruiserweight.
Yeah, because it's a little more recent.
Because I took the quiz and got 7 out of 10.
Oh, yeah, because they actually have the quiz.
This one I got wrong. Which main roster talent moved down to NXT to team up with Kalisto in 2014?
Sin Cara.
Correct. The options were Fandango, Sin Cara, Cena, and Ziggler, and I took Fandango for some reason. Here's another detailed one that you might know that I would
so
never.
Funny.
Who was Bayley's inspiration behind her attire for her match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn?
Dusty Rhodes?
Nope.
All right,
Want
options, please.
Iron Man, Macho Man, Ric Flair, Trish Stratus.
Ric Flair?
Nope.
Trish Stratus?
Nope.
Macho Man?
Nope. did really well in that one. Iron Man.
Really?
Yeah, they had a picture of it.
I remember it being white and gold.
It was like red and gold or whatever that.
I think it was white and gold.
Actually, I'm colorblind. I shouldn't make any comments on.
That's
it. Looked Iron Man-y. So. I'll say that much. At least the picture they had. So here you go, and you're gonna love this one because it's a fun one for me. Which two NXT superstars generated WWE's first 5-star match since Money in the Bank 2011? Say it. Say what match is a 5-star match, Jackson. Say it.
No.
The greatest match of all time, ladies and gentlemen. Say it.
DIY versus Revival. I'm kidding. Andrade versus Johnny Gargano.
Correct.
How is it not a DIY Revival?
Have you seen Almas Gargano? We should be watching that on a daily basis.
DIY though Revival. I'm surprised that's not a 5-star.
And I guess this is just according to Meltzer, right? So who knows?
No,
it's hard to get 5 stars in North America with him. All right, so next one. I like this one too, and I think you'll get it. The NXT title has been vacated twice by which superstars?
Ooh. Karrion Kross.
Correct.
And
I actually remembered this one. Cross and a current. He's still there. He's not in the championship scene right now.
Oh, right. Ciampa.
Correct.
How did I forget that?
So, this one is a two-parter. Who has the longest championship reign at NXT?
Adam Cole.
How many days is the second part?
Oh.
Right?
364?
Very close. 396.
Ooh, nice. My boy.
Now, the flip side, who has the shortest championship reign?
Sami Zayn.
No. Think recently, man.
Oh, right. Karrion Kross.
And how many days do you think he had it?
Was it a Saturday or it was a Saturday.
It was.
So.
And they stripped.
4.
That's correct. They stripped it on the Wednesday, right?
Yep.
So.
Or you relinquished it.
So I think this is correct. Who had the shortest reign not due to injury?
Sami Zayn.
No.
Bo Dallas?
No.
Neville. Oh, Samoa Joe.
Yes.
14 days.
Yes. Why did you suddenly not know who it was to knowing who it was and the number of days?
I remember Sami Zayn having, but then I remember because Samoa Joe's second reign was really short.
Yeah, it was in the Joe Nakamura little bit there.
Yeah.
So three stars have held the title more than once. Who are they?
Joe Nakamura Balor.
Correct. So I would say you did very well on that. I thought you would. That ends.
I like the NXT ones.
You like that? Okay. So I just sort of, I don't know, I come up with stuff. I just start flipping through some trivia, and then it sometimes leads me to Wikipedia or some other sources.
Yeah, Well Culture's got some interesting quizzes.
Yeah, so that they helped me out with that one, so I appreciate it.
Not gonna lie, the one time when you were doing NXT, I did do one just for some reason. I can't remember which one it was, but.
Nice. Yeah, they have some stuff. So I'll come up with something again for next week. Nice. You did very well on that. So that will take us to the next review that we're going to do in depth of the other show that was on Wednesday night that we actually just finished up last night, and that is NXT. NXT started with Damian Priest making his entrance, and then he's sort of waiting in the ring for Leon Ruff.
Jump cuts. They did a really bad job.
They did. And then it cuts to a Damian Priest interview earlier backstage where he tells us that he's replaced Kurt Stallion as Ruff's partner, and that's all the explanation of that we got, I think.
I did see a segment on YouTube where Kurt Stallion got attacked by Legato. I thought they would have showed that, but...
Yeah, it kind of was just it was just like a throwaway statement that Stallion's out and Priest is in, and since he has a vested interest in seeing Ruff make it to TakeOver, which makes sense, I guess, he wants to watch Ruff's back so that he's healthy enough.
Or he wants to win.
Right, so Joaquin Wilde approaches and asks if Priest is sure he wants to do this, and Priest shoves Wilde into the garage door that's kind of right behind him, and they're separated by officials. I thought this was kind of lame, and it made Legato look really weak, because there's 2 of them there, and Priest just shoves one of them down, and then that's it, right? So I've got some thoughts on our Legato faction. I'm sort of tiring of them, but we'll talk about it later. Mm-hmm. So then we move right into Priest and Ruff versus Escobar and Mendoza, and we get Gargano on commentary. Again, I tend not to notice much of what's going on commentary. It's one of the drawbacks of taking detailed notes, I guess.
At least you can probably take notes for the good commentary, though.
I guess. Ruff and Escobar start, and they grapple briefly before Escobar tags out, kind of really quickly, I thought. Then lots of quickness by Ruff to avoid...
Also, can I just note that it's weird that one shove into a thing takes out Wilde?
That's what I'm saying. They looked really weak at that point. Like, it was a shove, he hits the garage door, he's down and out, and then that's it.
Now he's replaced by Escobar, which I think is probably a better choice, but, like, I wish it made more sense.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection, that it was supposed to be Wilde?
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought it was Sorry, I missed that somehow. So yeah, that's even more lame than you're right.
But and I do think Escobar is probably a better choice. I just wish,
of course,
again, it would make more sense.
Escobar's
That's
awesome.
all I'm asking for here.
So quickness by Ruff to avoid Mendoza, ending with a drop kick. Escobar is back in and he hits a big knee that I thought looked cool, sends Ruff flying back into his own corner where he can easily tag Priest. Mendoza uses his quickness to avoid Priest for a while before Priest hits a jumping back elbow to send Mendoza outside. Mendoza's dropped then face first on the apron by Priest. We get Priest's head clap and then a head kick before Mendoza's rolled back into the ring. Mendoza finally tags Escobar, who immediately hits a nice dive to Priest on the outside. His suicide
really
dive's
good.
the best. So Priest was just momentarily distracted by seeing Ghostface in the crowd, and that he sort of turned to look at that and then got hit by the dive from Escobar that looked cool. We come back from the commercial with Priest isolated in the heel corner and a nice running dropkick by Escobar. Suplex by Escobar for 2. Escobar works Priest's leg while what protest hits him with elbows? What would protest be? Wow, protest. Escobar hits Priest's leg while Priest hits him with elbows is what it was. So yes, they're on the mat, I remember. Okay. And Escobar's got a hold of got a hold of Priest's leg, and his head is in elbowing position, so they're on the mat. He's taking elbows while working the leg. Mendoza is then in to continue more leg work. And I thought it was interesting at this point in the match that Priest is playing the face in peril, right? Like he's getting worked over, building up to a hot tag to Leon, which was kind of interesting to me. Kind of the reverse of what you would assume. Forearms by Mendoza, but he gets caught with a flatliner. Hot tag to Ruff, and he hits a drop kick and a Hurricane Rana for 2. Blind tag to Mendoza to take control of Ruff. Ruff tags out, and Priest dominates with kicks, a flapjack, and a big forearm. We get a leaping back elbow to Mendoza in the corner from Priest, but he's briefly distracted by Escobar, and that allows Mendoza to climb up top, but he gets caught by sort of an uppercut coming off the ropes by Priest. Priest sets up for the reckoning, and as he sort of extends his arm in a taunt, Ruff tags himself in. Priest follows through with the reckoning, and then Ruff hits a frog splash that I didn't think looked very good.
It looked like a worse version of the Leo Rush's final hour.
But it was enough for the win. So they both are sort of in the ring looking out, and there's 2 ghost faces in the crowd now.
Right behind Johnny Gargano, who's on commentary.
So I did not love this match. I thought it was slow at times and never really got going. I actually would like to see Escobar and Priest in a singles match at some point because I thought their interaction was the most interesting part of this. I would personally move Escobar out of the cruiserweight division. First of all, he's a big enough guy to be taken seriously as a heavyweight.
And he's proven himself.
Second of all, this division is garbage, and the title means nothing on him or anyone at this point.
Which sucks, because I think cruiserweight divisions always have potential.
I honestly think at this point, because they've just done nothing with it for months now, this association with Mendoza and Wilde has done nothing for Escobar. And actually, the level of competition he's facing in the cruiserweight division is sort of making him look weaker because he's just beating guys that are not, I don't know. I think it's time to move him into the heavyweight division.
And I think it's time to give the cruiserweight title to Kurt Stallion.
Haven't seen him do anything. So that's what I mean. The people that are in contention for this title are, no offense, not really anybody. And it's doing nothing for Escobar. So I want it off of him because I think he's awesome. I don't care if he breaks away from his faction because they're not doing anything. And even though we really wanted them to be good because they have a cool look, they have a cool theme, they have a cool entrance, but we never get any development.
I think Escobar could keep their theme because he deserves it.
We never get any development of them, and they're just kind of there. So I'm done with it. Move on. Sorry.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah. So then we get a recap of the Dunn-O'Reilly, the really good ladder match from last week that, spoiler alert, we will not see as quality a ladder match this week. So Shotzi's in her metal shop doing work when Ripley and Moon show up and say that their war machine needs an engine, and they uncover something that is glowing that we never get to see. Think Pulp Fiction. I know you haven't seen that, but any fans that are old like I am or have seen Pulp Fiction, it's this idea of something beautiful and mysterious that the characters see and we never get to see. Shotzi is in love with whatever it is. This was contrived nonsense, and it seemed really out of character for Ember Moon and Ripley. I thought this was really cheesy and
but guess what? Right in line with Shotzi's character, isn't it?
Almost made me cringe. More so for Moon and Ripley. Like, we've seen Shotzi do this whole I'm a metal worker and sparks are flying thing, but for Moon and Ripley to hey, we bought you a present and it's an engine for our machine. Clearly, she's going to roll in some souped-up tank, I assume, at the pay-per-view
I'm
tomorrow.
going to be a very pissed off little boy.
So anyways, I thought this made Moon and Ripley look kind of silly, and I did not think this was a good segment at all.
Me neither. I don't really like anything Shotzi's been doing lately. It's like, it's back to the same dumb crap.
Shotzi's part in it, to me, was the most okay, because that's what she does, right? Whereas Moon and Ripley suddenly love each other and are wheeling in a gift for Shotzi.
I was like, when did anybody ask for this? What's the point? The only thing they really did here was to inform people on the predictable team members that were revealed on YouTube.
Right. So this didn't really further anything, right? It was just, and I'll get into...
It's just confirming teammates that everybody had assumed would join her.
I have some opinions in my overall thoughts, for sure, about this kind of thing going on in this show. Then we get a recap of the Balor, Brand, Undisputed Brawl, and Regal making the match that we've seen before. It was nothing really new here. Then they had sort of hyped this up a little bit. We're getting a night out with the Undisputed Era.
Yay.
So they're in a car in suits talking, and we get a recap of recent Undisputed Era action. They all sort of take turns talking a little bit. They're the top dogs in NXT, and we flash back to all their previous successes when they were actually cool. No offense, Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
So then they're at dinner, and Cole says they've never had to fight from underneath like this. Kyle says it might do them some good to reflect on how they got here. Fish says he's reflected enough, and it's time to kick some butt. We get some more highlights, and they toast Pat McAfee.
Except he used a different word.
They toast Pat McAfee for being so smart and so stupid all at the same time. This was okay, but I don't feel the intensity and bitterness between these factions that they want me to. I don't think.
And that should be here, because I do.
It's a War Games match, man.
Right. And the feud has actually been quite thought out, in my opinion, but it is lacking the intensity here.
So previous War Games matchups have felt more necessary to me than this, right? Like this feels
even when it's like Undisputed Era versus random team.
I still feel like they need a couple stops before they get to the War Games at this point. Like it's sort of been rushed through, but also at the same time they haven't done much, if that makes sense. Like it hasn't been going on that long, but I still feel like they could have snuck more stuff in there somehow to make this build better. And honestly,
the build has been good until I think it just kind of...
Undisputed Era don't work as faces for me. I don't feel any sympathy for them. Like I don't feel sympathy for them being treated the exact same way they've treated everybody else for however many years, right? The last couple years. Like I need more than that to just be like, oh, poor Undisputed Era. I really hope they get their comeuppance, right? Because this is how they've been forever, and it's just the same thing happening to them. So I don't feel any sympathy for them. I'm sure it's going to be a good match, but the build hasn't done much for me. I'm not going to lie. All right. Candice's team is backstage and is asked what they think of Shotzi's team. Candice laughs and says it's not a team, it's just two people. And tonight they will see a show of strength, and Gonzalez says that after tonight, Shotzi will feel like she got run over by a tank. It was short. It was fine. Anytime you want to put Candice or Gargano on the mic, it's probably going to be okay with me, so I didn't have a problem with this.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about the previous segments, I think the build was... I thought the build was good, when Pat McAfee was revealing his members and all that jazz.
Yes, me too.
And then it got to the brawl. And then after that big brawl and, the War Games match is set up, they don't provide any intensity to keep the momentum going along. It's like they had all this momentum from a actually clever build, and it's just, kind of almost disappeared.
I think you're exactly right, and you're saying it better than I was trying to say.
Because, it was good, right?
It was, and we were like, oh, it's cool. He's got Lorcan and Birch. I like that. And, oh, now they got Pete Dunne. I like that. And then there was a couple of, it just didn't continue the build from there.
Almost like in a match, there's just this lull.
Yep, you're right. So we get good old August Gray versus Cameron Grimes, and this basically what I have is basically an enhancement match at this point, right? So Grimes has a sack, and he pulls out a strap, and he sort of hangs it over the corner, sort of as a foreshadow to his strap match he's having with Loomis at the pay-per-view. So Grimes takes control right away with shots to the back, which I thought was kind of cool, and then a kick and a hard Irish whip. Knee to the midsection by Grimes, following some fish hooking and an elbow to the face. Gray hits a drop kick, a chin breaker, and a neck breaker by Gray. Probably not a chain breaker, eh? Probably a chin breaker. As my notes say.
Break the chains.
180 crossbody off the top by Gray. A roll up by Gray for 2. Swinging side effect and a cave in by Grimes, kind of right out of nowhere, and it's over quickly. Grimes is then in the ring. I thought this was cool because he's basically cutting a promo without a microphone, right? Like, again, they're taking advantage of, if they want the arena to be silent, it can be silent, and people can just be yelling in the ring. And
Right.
I think for Grimes' character, that's more effective than him like taking the time to grab a mic and testing it out and then speaking into it, right? So he says Loomis has made mistakes as he hooks Gray into the strap and hits a clothesline before whipping Gray with it, and then he starts cutting this promo without a mic. And as he's doing this, he's got his back turned to Gray, and he sort of wants to drag him back in by the strap. And he turns around, and of course it's Loomis attached to the strap.
I was like, because Gray's out of the ring, he's like, I can pull him back in. As he turns around, I'm like, Dexter Loomis, and then Dexter Loomis comes out. It was so predictable.
I actually liked that. And he whips Grimes, and Grimes runs away, obviously. So it was just an enhancement match for Grimes to pick up a win, and it was fine. Grimes looks aggressive, right? And Gray got a little bit of offense, so we can see that he at least got something. I actually kind of like the Loomis being on the end of the strap and the beatdown, and Grimes, because this is the story, right, that he's been running away. So it was like one more opportunity for Grimes to run away before he can't on Sunday night, which I thought was fine. Thoughts?
Agreed.
That's the extent of your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I don't care about Dexter Loomis.
And then we get just a match here for some reason. We get and this was the super really awkward quick cut, right? Like, I don't normally
Boom, Jake Atlas.
Normally WWE and NXT, it's really slick production value and all, but this was just like an awkward cut to Atlas in the ring for a match against Tony Nese. And my first note was, this is a rehab match for Atlas, ? Right? Because he's been sort of on the losing end of some things, even though he's got this new attitude or whatever. So I figured this is just a way for him to pick up a cheap win. So we get an arm drag by Atlas, counters until a cartwheel, a kick, and a suicide dive by Atlas. Atlas is then punched off the top rope and stomped by Nese. We get a split screen as the Brand are walking into the building to let us know how important this match is to everybody. We can just basically shrink the match down so that we can watch four guys walk into a building. Always a great sign for the two guys in the ring.
Right, shows the importance of the match,
Absolutely. Right? Suplex by Nese for 2. Cravat knees by Nese. I'm a sucker for the cravat knees for some reason. Torture rack until Atlas elbows out of it. Forearms by Atlas in a clothesline, followed by a back body drop. Forearms, a German suplex, and another forearm for a 2 count. Atlas then starts to slap himself to sort of fire up. Nese gets a rope break and hits a quick punch. Neck snap by Nese counters, and a big kick by Nese to Atlas's face for a 2 count. Running Nese is escaped, and a flatliner followed by the cartwheel DDT, which was our complaint, sort of, right? It looked a bit awkward because Nese has to sort of, it's like in the old video games where they're staggered and they're just standing there for a second. So he has to stand beside the ropes while allowing for Atlas to set up this DDT, which does look good when he executes it. It's the setup leading into it. Right? Makes the opponent look kind of dumb.
The way it's executed.
It's like the, what do I claim? The Eclipse with Ember Moon. At times it makes your opponent look stupid because they have to just stand there staggered and waiting. Right. Atlas is interviewed after the match and talks about how bad things happening to him, but he'll turn things around and he'll never give up. He's not the Cruiserweight champion, but this win is just the beginning. He's hoping to end
Generic babyface promo.
Yes, it was. He wants to end up facing Escobar for the Cruiserweight title, which he might, and hopefully go ahead and take it off Escobar so he can do something better.
But Atlas deserves it even less than Escobar.
No, it's a meaningless title, honestly. At this point, you can just give it to whoever you want.
I think it looks cool, though, and
I
want it to mean something.
Maybe you build rough, and then when he can't keep the North American, obviously, he could drop down.
That'd actually be perfect.
Right? So because he's getting at least it's a wrestler who's gotten exposure, whether you like him or not. At least it's not like going, hey, by the way, here's Kurt Stallion, and unless you watch 205 Live, which nobody does,
we did watch that number of contenders match, though. That
we did.
Stallion won just by chance.
So this match I thought was okay, but it had no build, and neither competitor has anything going on. The post-match promo, as you said, was super generic, nothing special. The Cruiserweight division has almost nothing going for it at this point. As I said before, I think it hurts Escobar more than it helps him to be in this division. He looks weaker by the competition he faces in that division, and he could be a star in my opinion. He needs to start mixing and feuding with other people at a similar level to him. Then we get the Brand. They're heading to the ring, and McAfee's going to speak to us, obviously. He tells Vic Joseph he sucks and to shut up before paying his respects to Pat Patterson. So I like that he tried to do that, but it's certainly not consistent with his character, right? To take a moment to honor Pat Patterson. But anyways, I appreciate the thought. He then turns his attention to the Undisputed Era. He said, the night out with the Undisputed Era was as lame as he expected. I don't really disagree with him too much there. Rented tuxes and boxed wine in a crappy restaurant. His team was put together by money, and he invested in these three men and bought Holland a Mercedes. I like that he sort of put that name out there, right? Reminded us that, just even so we don't completely forget about Ridge Holland, because at some point he will come back. So dropping his name every now and then can't hurt. They've run the place since they got here, and on Sunday, it's about his team as he takes turns putting each of them over. Basically, starts talking about his own teammates and their accolades, sort of thing. He wants the people at home to imagine themselves as a member of Undisputed Era and feel every move that they take.
I thought that was kind of dumb.
What did you think of the promo altogether?
I thought it was very basic heel stuff.
Yes.
Just like, oh, I want you to pretend to be the guys they don't like, so because I want to hurt you guys too. It's like, okay, but like it's so basic.
I thought it was a bit rambling again, right? Like maybe they're giving this guy a bit too much freedom in his promos. I know I don't want them to be scripted. Believe me, I really don't. I just want them to have bullets, but he could have had these bullets and practice and run it, because I feel like there's been a couple of his promos lately, I know, where we've been like, he's kind of rambling, right? He can
and then there's some where they're good.
And it's more, that's why it's more frustrating, because he's capable of cutting really good promos,
it's
interesting
just the
promos.
Inconsistency.
But this one felt like he was just filling time a little bit, right? And they're like, okay, so you've got this much time to fill, go out and do it. And this is what he did. It was too long. I didn't find it very interesting. I know the match will be cool, but I want to be dying to see it, and I'm not.
Right.
Based
and
on
I
this
was
build.
when they announced it, honestly. Like, you
Yes.
remember? Because, like, the build, like I said, it was really good. And now I'm just like, okay, it's your yearly War Games. Like,
Yes.
I was excited for this, and now it's just like I said, that lull, it's just like now I'm just indifferent to it, which sucks because I was excited for this.
I know, and I'm sure we're going to end up liking the match, and there'll be spots where we're just thrilled, but I want to be thrilled before it starts.
And I'm just even more disappointed because, like, I know I just said it, but, like, I was excited for this, right?
I agree with you completely. The formation of this faction got us kind of excited, and you, as a staunch Pat McAfee hater, were like, he works in this capacity, right?
Right. This match will be super helpful for him.
But it seems like the feud peaked really, really early, like in the first quarter, and we're now at the last quarter, and I don't know. I'm sure the match will be fun. Again, Undisputed Era as a face team's not working for me, and I don't feel bad for them in this feud. I don't have any sympathy for them in this feud. So Gonzalez is getting warm backstage as her team very closely watches her, right? They're all like huddled around her, watching her use one of those exercise bands to get warmed up. Then we get the Grizzled Young Veterans package with highlights and sound bites. I thought this looked cool, and they're coming out next. It's just sort of a very brief highlight package of what I think is a really good tag team and a welcome addition to this roster. I think you would agree with me.
James Drake is great.
Yes, you love James Drake. So then we get Xia Li, and she emerges from a large bucket of water, like looks like an old wash tub, while the master sits watching by candlelight. So she goes back under. Boa then cuts to him, and he's got water poured over him, and then both are shown dunking underwater and coming back up and being told to do it again and to do it faster. And mixed in with all of this, we see flashes of a female figure, but her hair is like pulled over her face, so we can't quite see who it is. So then,
kind of like, remember when Bray Wyatt was pretending to be Sister Abigail?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. So then Xia Li and Boa are out of the water, and they're sort of in similar black outfits with a little bit of red on them, I think. And they're bowing repeatedly. They're told to stand, and then they are suddenly hit from behind with kendo sticks. So the final image is of the female's leader's face more close up, but again, there is still hair in front of her face, so you don't get a clear view of who it was.
Spoiler, this was the only thing I enjoyed on the show, really.
I still think this storyline is cool, and I love how slowly it's going. Like, we're getting tiny little bits. Which is what I
enjoyed at first about the Undisputed Era, the brand storyline, right? And then now it's just like, I don't know. But, like, yeah, this has been really good.
So we're getting slow little bits that I don't even understand what's going on, but I really like that. Again,
it's almost intriguing more than, like, confusing.
The issue is going to be the payoff, right? Like, I'm enjoying all of the build, so please, I hope they have the ending planned and that it's something reasonable.
It doesn't turn out to be
because I agree, this
doesn't turn out to be something like Eric Rowan's Spider.
Exactly. This 3-minute promo or package was probably my favorite thing on the show as well.
Right, which is both good for this feud and sad for this show.
Right. Then we move into everyone's favorite tag team, Everrise versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. And Everrise... But wait. Everrise are attacked from behind by Imperium as the Grizzled Young Veterans are making their entrance. So Bartel grabs a mic and says that the tag team division belongs to Imperium, despite them not having the belts or being involved in anything for quite a while.
Since they lost the belts.
But they are here to put the Grizzled Young Veterans in their place. So now it's Imperium instead of Everrise versus the Grizzled Young Veterans, which is fine. That's actually probably a better matchup if we really think about it. So Eichner and Gibson start, but Bartel is tagged in quickly and gets the advantage. Knee and elbow by Gibson, and Drake is in. Strike exchange and a sunset flip for 2 by Drake. Uppercut by Bartel, and forearms to the back of Drake's neck. Eichner is in, and a big belly to back to Drake, sorry. Eichner with kicks in the corner to Drake. Sloppy suplex escape redone. Remember, they actually redid it so we could get the blind tag to Gibson. It's not a great spot. Eichner gets Gibson's arm. Eichner hits an attitude adjustment at one point. We get reversals and an arm drag over the ropes to the floor. They yell at each other outside the ring. And then, again, Canadian problems because we can't watch NXT on the network that we pay money for.
I literally had to find the clip on YouTube.
We have to find it in other places. And all of a sudden, the match was gone and over. So we went and looked it up elsewhere, and it looked like basically
caused a double DQ.
Right, Everrise just comes in and they all brawl outside, and it's double DQ, no contest,
so
whatever.
The show has a bunch of matches where it's just to set up Takeover. This was so dumb. So first, Imperium attack Everrise to replace them in a match, right?
Yes.
And then the match doesn't even end where Everrise come back to attack. Like, what was the point?
I mean, my silver lining, my optimism, I'll put my optimism hat on, is that are we building a tag division? Because that would actually be cool. So I guess that, like, if you put a little bit of effort into Everrise, you could make them decent. I kind of like them, actually. So let's get some tag teams going. You could actually have Wild and Mendoza be a tag team, right? Like, there's a fledgling division here that we could just sort of foster it into existence. I would be okay. But yes, so there wasn't too much point to this match even, really, right? Mm-hmm. Back from commercial with Everrise getting in a car with an interviewer there, and they say Everrise rules and drives away. So
because they got attacked and then attacked other people.
And if you are outside this building, you better have a car or a suitcase, right? So they had a car.
Or just a championship.
So they had a car. That's good.
Yeah. They checked all the boxes.
We get our next Thatch Can in the ring, and this will focus on distractions this week. So as Thatcher turns to introduce his student, Ciampa is there, and Thatcher is surprised. And I think it was Russ Taylor, right? From the...
yeah, they call him something else. I think it was Tyler Russ, but yeah.
So again, another guy I know from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Thatcher says he has no problem with Ciampa, right? Anytime Ciampa shows up, Thatcher's sort of backing away and saying, I have no problem with you. Ciampa calls him a disappointment. And then Thatcher sneak attacks Ciampa, but then ends up taking a forearm. So the student then blindsides Ciampa, and Thatcher ends up throwing Ciampa into the barricade before going back to the ring to apply a guillotine that puts Ciampa to sleep, basically. I thought this was fine. I like the idea of Thatcher having like a naive student with him to do his bidding, right? To have like a young boy basically with him that'll do whatever he tells him to do. I kind of like that idea, and I hope it is Taylor, because I would love to see a guy I've watched for years get a shot on a major promotion on a I was going to say on a main roster, but not quite. So yeah, I thought this was okay. Like, in the grand scheme of this show, this wasn't a bad segment.
Agreed.
Yeah. No other thoughts on that?
No, not much.
Okay, they run down the War Games lineup, which we'll talk about in any other wrestling business. We're going to make our predictions there.
Just based on what I can remember, I mean, we'll check this again in any other wrestling business, but not much other than the War Games matches and a strap match.
Yeah, there's 5 matches, as is usually their standard, right? So Thatcher is impressed with his student taking initiative, and Ciampa learned about distraction, and at War Games
I like
he'll learn
the wording
about
there,
respect.
taking initiative.
And I like the idea that, Ciampa learned about distractions, right? Because that was going to be the lesson. So it's almost like Thatcher had the foresight to know Ciampa's going to come, and I'm going to distract him, so that, you know what I mean? It's like he was one step ahead here, which I kind of liked. So then we move into the main event, which is the ladder match for the War Games advantage for the women's War Games match, and that is Shotzi Blackheart versus Raquel Gonzalez. So this could have gone one of two ways, right? These are both fairly inexperienced, especially Gonzalez. I mean, Shotzi's been around on the indies for a while, but this is them getting
still sucks.
A main event in a specialty match on a go-home show, right? So this is a pretty big deal for the two of them. It starts with a drop kick by Shotzi right away, but Gonzalez is staying on her feet. Gonzalez's power gets her the advantage, and she pushes Shotzi off the apron to the floor. Shotzi escapes and shoves Gonzalez into a ladder, then hits a drop kicks the ladder into Gonzalez, but it didn't look great. Some of the high impact spots did not look very high impact in this, but we'll get into that a bit later. Blackheart tries a crossbody from the apron to the outside, but Gonzalez catches her and drops her on a ladder that was lying sort of on the apron. I thought this looked pretty good, actually. Most of Gonzalez's power spots look fine, right? She's good. Shotzi jumps on Gonzalez's back, who rolls outside, climbs the steps to the apron, all with Shotzi on her back, and then backs into the ring post with Shotzi on her back. Again, I would have liked the impact to look a little more dramatic here, but the fact that she carried her around on her back was kind of cool. Shotzi is on Gonzalez and then eventually just gets rammed into the fence. Gonzalez misses a kick and Shotzi swings Gonzalez's leg into the steps and then shotgun drop kicks Gonzalez into the steps. Again, the impact could have been a bit greater. It's just like they're sort of slowly moving back into it because they're not quite sure where it is and they don't want to hit it too hard. And again, that's just probably an inexperienced thing. Shotzi hits a coffin drop off of the barricade onto the floor.
Not as good as Darby Allin's.
No, for sure not. Shotzi kicked into the steps 3 times going into the commercial. Back from commercial, Gonzalez is on the apron and takes a head kick. Awkward spot leads to Gonzalez falling onto the apron. Beth called it a DDT. I would respectfully disagree. I'm actually not even sure what it was, but it was sloppy. Sliced bread attempt countered, and Shotzi goes face first into the apron. Steps to the face of Shotzi, and Gonzalez goes into the ring. Gonzalez climbs a ladder, and Shotzi follows and pulls Gonzalez by the arm into the ladder until both fall to the mat. They each climb and get yanked down. Gonzalez climbs halfway, and Shotzi pushes the ladder over. It was sort of like a very safe version, right?
Yeah, it looked really
She got
weird.
like 4 feet up the ladder, and then it got pushed over. Kick to the ladder being carried by Shotzi.
Maybe quite literally 4 feet because it's 4 rungs.
I'm being pretty serious, yeah. Kick to the ladder being carried by Shotzi. More sloppiness, and Gonzalez moves into position to take a senton while leaning on a ladder. This looked bad. Gonzalez had to make a major readjustment that looked awkward to get leaning on the ladder to take this spot that clearly they knew was coming. But the move actually looked good where she basically gets sentoned while she's leaning against the ladder. It looked pretty painful, actually, I have to say. More sloppiness by Shotzi up top to the outside.
Shocker.
And I just have, what was that? I don't even know what happened. Hartwell brings a ladder to help the heels climb down from the platform they were on watching. Same as the guys were last week. The ladies are up on this platform that they're now climbing down, and interference, I guess, is now on the table. Ripley comes to help, and Hartwell sets up a ladder in the ring, but gets taken out by Shotzi, who takes a big clothesline from Gonzalez. Gonzalez climbs the ladder, and EO springboards off the top and lands on Gonzalez's back and applies a chokehold. This was kind of cool. Low bridge, and Gonzalez hits the floor. EO hits a moonsault to a crowd of people on the floor. There's got to be like
all
8
the women plus security.
Right, so the safest thing ever, which is fine, but it also doesn't look like it would hurt anyone on the bottom very much. Everyone is down, and Shotzi grabs the case for the advantage. Thoughts, my son?
Given that this show has been bad overall, and given that we got a great ladder match last week, this was such a disappointment. Holy. Really not great. And also the outcome was both confusing and dumb.
For me, like when you consider the talent that is on these 2 War Game teams, right, that these were the 2 they chose to put in this spot, I think they're trying to give 2 newer, less experienced women a chance in the spotlight. And I think that's fine, but this didn't deliver, I don't think. And I don't think anyone can say that it did. I mean, maybe some people loved it. I thought there was lots of sloppiness, right? Like how many times in my notes, 3 or 4, was more sloppiness. Right. There were some straight up botches. There were some straight up near botches.
There's some straight up Shotzi.
Moves that weren't quite as impactful as they're supposed to be. People having to move in position to take clearly a scripted spot. This was definitely not main event caliber. And I guess, honestly, it was a fitting end to a very mediocre show at best.
Agreed.
So final thoughts. Go ahead. What did you give this match? I have a feeling it's going to be not terrific.
Or like the show?
Yeah. Show over. Or this match and show if you didn't get all your thoughts in on that match. Sorry?
D+.
D+.
This was really bad, especially if you're considering the fact this is a go-home show.
That is part of my rant,
War Games, which is one of their, it's a consistent takeover. So if you really think about this, it's probably one of their biggest takeovers, right? Because they've been doing it for what?
It is a big one, for
4
sure.
years now, I think.
Yep.
And the builds, some of the builds, or like the way they do the builds, feel really cheap. Like, even the good build in the men's War Games has been dulled down to the point where I don't, care too much, which sucks. And then, the strap match build has been really lame. It's just, attacks after the match or something after the match, and the Everrise tag team thing really annoyed me because one, Imperium just attacked them for no reason, saying because they want to fight Grizzled Young Veterans, and then the match doesn't even end. Like, there's just so much on the show that was like really not great, and like the best thing was like a short segment. That's not great.
I'll piggyback off what you're saying. So you gave it a D plus.
Yeah.
This show to me felt lazy and uninspired, right?
Agreed.
So here's a quick list of the matches, right? Legato versus Priest and Ruff, that was short. Gray versus Grimes.
And it's just to further the triple threat. Like, why does it need to be at the expense of Legato, right? Like,
Gray Grimes, really quick. Atlas Nice, quick and nothing. Grizzled Young Veterans Imperium, quick, no finish. And
Nothing.
a Gonzalez Shotzi ladder. And that's it on a go-home show, right?
Right? And, like, some of the builds were just, like, I kept saying it, but, like, just, like, some of them feel really cheap. Like,
and
a rambling Pat McAfee promo.
So if you look at that list, not one top-tier talent in the men's or women's division competed tonight on a go-home show to a major pay-per-view.
Right.
It honestly felt like...
NXT Dark.
What it felt like to me was that they did their long-term booking, right, to War Games, and then like last week or the week before, someone went, holy crap, we made a miscalculation, and we actually have one more week of TV before the pay-per-view. And they were like, okay, so let's move the women's ladder match to that, and then we'll just fill it. We'll figure it out. We'll just fill it with stuff, right? It's almost like they forgot they had to fill this show with things.
No, it really does feel like that, now that you mention that.
Like they cobbled together a 2-hour show out of space just to fill time.
I honestly, even in that explanation, would have a hard time believing they planned the ladder match. They probably planned having the match, but they're like, Raquel Gonzalez or Shotzi Blackheart versus
let's give them a shot. This
someone.
show doesn't matter anyways, right? Give them a chance.
It'll be someone from Shotzi's team versus someone from Candice's team, and one of them will win.
So the promos were pretty standard. The packages and things, McAfee's was too long and rambling, and the night out with Undisputed Era was really underwhelming, I thought.
Which disappoints me because I love them.
And as we said before, like, for Xia Li and the Boa vignette to be the most interesting thing on this show is
It's not even that that's bad, but like a short segment where there's like hardly any dialogue or anything, that's your best, that's your highlight, is like not good for a wrestling show that used to be so prominent, people had such high hopes for.
So I give this show a C-, and I feel like I might even be being a bit generous.
Right, you told me that, and I thought that was funny, because that's kind of true.
War Games might be a good show when all is said and done, but this show did absolutely nothing to help it, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And just as we're about to transition into them, ROH and Impact were considerably better wrestling shows this week.
Which is really bad, considering the grade you gave Impact last week is basically the grade I just gave out for NXT.
Yep. Impact bounced back, I thought.
Right, which is... And even if they do bounce back, the fact that they're better than NXT this week after reaching all-time low for you is really not good for NXT.
No. So maybe maybe NXT will bounce back in the same fashion, hopefully next week. But they're not known for having great shows after pay-per-views either. It's kind of like a bit of a holding pattern and recovery for a week before they get.
That was when they did
tapings,
though. But yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Yep, we'll see. All right, so that wraps up our NXT review. Was not a good show. So let's transition into any other wrestling business, where I'm going to talk about a couple shows that I did like better. Do you want me to start with Ring of Honor?
Yeah,
and then
just got a quick tidbit to say, and then you can do that.
So we'll put that in between.
I did see a thing I forgot to put in my news that Tony Khan said in an interview that trios titles may become a thing in AEW towards 2021.
I would be totally fine with that.
I would love that. Death Triangle First Champions, please.
And just something different, right? Not only are you, because I love tag team wrestling, so if you want to add another layer to tag team wrestling, I'm completely fine with that.
And like maybe meaningful trios matches, like that'd be.
And maybe even tweak the rules. Maybe there's a few different rules, and maybe some lucha rules or something in the trios. I don't know, but I'm.
Oh yeah, isn't that where like they go in and out? And
yeah,
then,
so if you exit the ring, you don't have to make a tag. The next person can just come in and away you go.
Right.
Which is interesting. So yeah, I'm all for that, right? And it's sort of like, hey, WWE, you can't even be bothered to do a tag division at all.
I actually have a question about the Lucha Rules match. Do you know if are you still allowed to tag?
Yes, you can still tag, but
you don't. It's not necessary.
Right. So if someone gets thrown out, instead of following them to the outside or waiting for them to come in, another partner just hops in. You check to see if
right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
So Ring of Honor this week. The show starts with a promo by the Foundation, which is Lethal, Gresham, Williams, and Rhett Titus.
I watched some of this, right?
You did, a little bit. So for this promo, Rhett Titus is wearing Gresham's squid mask. So they want to reclaim their spot at the top of ROH and can do this by winning all the titles. Titus starts to take off the octopus mask, but Williams stops him and asks why they should show Titus's face when no one's cared about him for 15 years, which I thought was a cool line, right?
I remember seeing him in something.
So it's basically like, listen, man, no one's cared about you.
I think he's in the All-In Battle Royal.
Sure. And you've been ignored all this time. And so don't bother. The people don't deserve to see you, so keep the mask on. I thought that was interesting. They're here to establish the new normal and rebuild ROH brick by brick. I actually like this promo. It's a strong faction making their intentions clear in a well-delivered promo. And it was shared among the members of the group, so everyone got a little chance to speak here. I thought this promo was good, and I like this faction. They're like we're the wrestlers faction. We're the like pure wrestling faction, basically.
Kind of like what Imperium was for NXT UK, and now Eichner, and Bartel are kind of isolated.
Yeah, so I like factions in general. I like when I understand why they're together. I like when I get what their motivations are, right? So they're all considered like the wrestler's wrestler, and they're just trying to bring that to ROH to rebuild it. So I already know why they're together and their motivation, so I was happy with this. Mm-hmm. So then Quinn McKay's there, and she goes over the card for this show.
Hand gestures.
Yeah, which is going to be Jay Lethal versus Josh Woods and King versus Taylor, and we get video packages from Lethal and Woods. So Woods says he's proud of how he did against Gresham in the Pure tournament, and that if you include all of Woods' amateur background, his career is basically as long as Jay Lethal's professional wrestling career, which I thought was interesting, right? Like, sure, Lethal's been wrestling forever, but it's not like I just was doing nothing and started wrestling, right? Like, I've got an amateur background, high school, university, all of that, right? So Pure Wrestling was made for him, and he's ready to counter everything Lethal tries. Beating Lethal will take him to the top of the standings in ROH. So then it's Lethal's turn, and he tells us he's loving the Pure matches and that he didn't beat LSG last week by decision. The rules beat LSG. And if the match were 1 minute longer, Lethal would have won. Woods has every right to believe in himself and believe that he'll win the match, but he won't. Again, I thought both of these packages were really good.
I actually did see them. They were pretty good.
This is now the ROH standard, right? I feel like I'm repeating myself every week, but at least it's repeating myself in a positive way.
Right.
They definitely have a style for their packages, and they're almost all really good. So I'm totally fine.
Nice.
So our first match is a Pure Wrestling match, Josh Woods versus Jay Lethal. The finish comes when Lethal is up top, goes for the Hail to the King, but Woods catches him and locks in a cross arm breaker. Lethal rolls out, and the Lethal injection is reversed into a choke.
Which I thought looked really cool.
It did, because the Lethal injection is very protected, right? If he hits that, it's a 3 count.
Right, and it really emphasizes the point that Josh Woods made of countering Lethal's moves, right?
Exactly. Lethal rolls out into a pin, then Woods applies a knee bar and quickly switches to an ankle lock. Lethal escapes, goes for a figure 4, but Woods turns Lethal into some sort of cradle type move, I'm not sure what to call, and Woods gets the 3 count here. They shake hands and Woods pats Lethal's butt.
I remember you really liking the roll-up move, I remember.
I did, but I don't even know what it was.
Me neither.
So they shake hands, and Woods pats Lethal's butt, which Lethal turns and did not look like he enjoyed, so I'm wondering if this feud sort of isn't over. And it was sort of like a condescending little butt pat, like, nice try, young man, sort of thing. And Lethal did not appreciate it. I enjoyed this match. Again, this grappling style of Woods isn't a style I could watch all day, but when it's sprinkled in and executed well, which I think this one was, I have no issue with it, right? So
no, I didn't mind it either.
Some of Woods' matches when he's involved with another grappler, I don't love them, but it was this battle of like amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, and I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed the match.
Yeah, I liked it.
So Matt, I think you left before the main event, unfortunately, because it was really good too. Matt Taven welcomes us to Trending with Taven, and we're told that this is like a smaller chunk of a larger conversation we can see online somewhere that I won't go see.
Or Bennett or whatever.
Right. So I guess this might be a regular segment on the show. So his first guest is Mike Bennett, and Bennett has been doing this since he was 15 years old and has gone all over the world.
I think I saw a bit of the main event. It was King and Taylor, right?
It was.
So, yeah.
Bennett and Taven won tag team championships everywhere. Bennett is a student and a fan, has been keeping tabs on ROH and Taven during his absence. Bennett has noticed that there's something missing for Taven, that it wasn't his fitness level or his ability. Taven needed somebody to have his back, and that's why Bennett is here. I thought this was fine. Both seemed really comfortable speaking. It sort of reminds viewers of Bennett's place in the company, explains his alliance with Taven for new or forgetful viewers. So again, I feel like they're constantly treating this as we've been gone for months. We need to either refresh people's memories on what was going on, or we're picking up new viewers and we need to make it clear what's going on. So I thought this was another fine segment. Mark Briscoe is there. He talks about how he and Jay are due a tag team title shot and that final battle's right around the corner. But Jay is too worried about EC3 right now, so Mark is going to find a new partner and take the tag team championships. So this was brief and served its purpose. It let the viewers know what's going on with Jay. He's clearly going to continue some sort of feud with EC3. Poor guy.
Because Jay Briscoe's the one who was world champion, right?
I believe so, yes. And Mark is after the tag titles, but he's going to need a new tag partner. So hopefully the suspense...
Kevin Briscoe.
Hopefully the suspense of who will be Mark's partner will sort of be developed.
I know. Gerald Briscoe.
That's right. Uncle Jerry. So we get promos heading into the main event now. Brody King talks about his match with Dalton Castle. He and Shane Taylor have a lot of same philosophies. They grew up fighting their whole lives, but Shane is a pessimist and assumes that someone is constantly trying to hold him back, while Brody just doesn't care. And I thought that was a cool line, right? You whine and complain about everything and everyone's against you, and I just don't care. I just keep moving forward. So Shane's TV title win came against Brody in a 4-way, but it was a cheap win, and a receipt is coming.
Is he still champion or no?
No. They both want the world championship. Brody's going to prove why he belongs in title contention.
Do you know who is?
What?
TV champion.
TV champ is... I don't know.
I'll look it up then while you're talking.
I think it's someone in Rush's faction, though. I could be wrong. Another cool promo. I've been really impressed with King, and I think ROH has made a good decision to focus on him to start this reboot. I feel
Dragon Lee, you're right.
Yeah, I thought so. Who is good. Shane Taylor then talks about his huge weight off his shoulders after defeating Kenny King. They're still friends, and Kenny understands why Shane had to do what he did. Shane doesn't know that much about Brody King, but they have the same strengths from what he understands. The hypocrisy of Brody's fan base is something Taylor finds amusing, and I thought this was an interesting, deep place to go. If Shane Taylor walked around in a ski mask, he wouldn't get the same reaction. So I think this is him trying to sort of explain his pessimistic attitude, as he's got a lifetime of battling racism, right? Which probably gives him the attitude he has. Whereas Brody King, I don't know if you've seen him, but he enters in like a full-on ski mask and like a chain around his neck. And Shane Taylor's saying like, I wouldn't get the same reaction if I came out in a ski mask, right? So they have the same goal, and they've been on a collision course for a long time now. With the ROH Championship will come power, recognition, and respect, and that's what Taylor's after. I thought this was really strong, and I really like Taylor a lot since the reboot. I was aware of him sort of before this and thought he had some good matches, but I think his promos, his character, his delivery he has this really sincere delivery, similar to, I'm not trying to say he's on that level because he's not, but like Kingston, right? Where you believe that he believes what he's saying, basically.
Right.
So
it's like, what was it? Character imitates life or whatever.
Yeah, and Taz does it. Kingston does it. I think Shane Taylor's really cool. Another strong choice of a wrestler to push to the top, right? Move him out of this TV championship slot and sort of see if he can go to the top of the card. And I think these are both good choices. So then we get the actual match, and it is Brody King versus Shane Taylor. And unlike the technical pure match earlier, this is more of a slugfest between two interesting hosses. So I even like that dynamic, right? One's like your technical match, and this is like two big guys just fighting. The finish comes when Taylor comes off the ropes and into a modified Bossman Slam for 2. He then hits a nice pile driver for another 2 count. He attempts a Gonzo Bomb, but Taylor fights out and hits a sweet package.
Gonzo Bomb? That's a funny name.
Hits a sweet package pile driver for a near fall. Taylor goes for the Welcome to the Land, which is his devastating finisher if you get a chance to see it. But King slips out, hits a big German suplex and a lariat for a 1 count. Repeated clotheslines, like 4 or 5 of them by King, and he eventually gets the pinfall. I thought, honestly, this was an excellent match with a really strong section at the end. Incredibly hard hitting. The forearm shots by these guys were pretty stiff and really cool, with some nice high impact moves between two evenly matched big men. I had no idea who would win this match, which also kept me interested, and I really liked it. Overall, and I think this contributes to it, as I say here, I really love this EC3 free episode of ROH. And thought that they were really no weak spots. Promos and videos were all good to excellent. Both matches, despite being really different in style, were good, with the main event, I thought, being really strong. And all that in less than an hour. So it was an A show to me, and I highly recommend it, right? You have 50 minutes of just good professional wrestling, and I really enjoyed this week's show. Considerably better than, obviously, NXT, and in half of the time, right? So that's always a consideration. Yeah. Did you have anything you want to throw in before I talk Impact?
I do have
Allow me to have a sip of coffee. Wet my whistle.
I was gonna consider putting this in news, but I wanted to save it for here so I'd have a little more to talk about. Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, formerly known as the Forgotten Sons, along with Jackson Riker.
Would you say you've almost forgotten about them?
Oh, yeah, well, I did, yes.
Until now, because...
I didn't even realize it was them at first, but they returned as King Corbin's henchmen.
Yeah, I hadn't
They had
seen it. I've
both
heard about
shaven
it.
their faces.
Oh, really?
And also wearing, so that's why I didn't recognize them.
Yeah, that would
And
be a
so
big difference.
They are back helping King Corbin, which I think serves them right because they are kind of lame.
I kind of get that pairing, I guess. It kind of makes sense. And from what I was reading, that Riker is still
In the doghouse.
a big time, and they want nothing to do with him right now. So it's just going to be those two, it looks like.
Yep. And then Kevin Owens challenges Roman Reigns to a TLC match at, TLC 2020. Roman accepts, and I guess we now have our other world title match for TLC.
Yeah, as if Owens has a chance in that one. But it could be a good match, right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
and Kevin Owens
Roman...
has like that Mankind, the Mick Foley body type where you can take those big spots.
Absolutely.
So,
Love Kevin Owens.
yeah.
But Reigns is not losing for quite a while, I don't think. Nor should he. I'm not saying I disagree, but I think he needs to be a champion for a long time.
And also Sasha Banks versus Carmella for the women's SmackDown Women's title.
I have zero interest in Carmella.
Me too.
All right.
And yeah, that's it.
All right, Impact Wrestling. Let's go. We start with an in memoriam picture of Bob Ryder, a longtime Impact employee from behind the scenes who recently died, and then they move into a recap of last week's show, which I won't go over because why. The Motor City Machine Guns are introduced, and we get started with a match between the Machine Guns and Triple XL. So, this begs the question. Larry D and his alter ego, Lawrence, they're still a free man after being found guilty of attempted murder last week.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they actually found a way to make that entire storyline mean even less and make less sense than it already did. Nice work, Impact. About 5 minutes in, I'd already written that note. Madison asks the same exact question, and Josh has no answer and says that he had no idea that Larry had an alter ego. So I'm like, what? So did he
Have you
not
been watching the show, Josh?
Did he not watch Wrestle House, or is it like Lucha Underground, where which I loved about Lucha Underground?
But sometimes I think Josh Matthews is just clueless because sometimes they know, right?
Because in Lucha Underground, the commentary team had no knowledge of what happened outside the ring, which I thought was actually awesome, especially because Lucha Underground was dealing with some like really out there storylines, right? That would make it would be really awkward for your sort of straight man announcers to talk about like supernatural, like literally people coming from space and things and teleporting and stuff. So I like that the commentary team had no idea, but here it didn't make sense. Anyways, Triple XL, at one point, one issue I had is they're selling a suicide dive into both of them from Sabin, and it looked kind of ridiculous. Like Sabin weighs maybe 180 pounds.
And they both
and
weigh
Triple XL weigh a combined like 800 pounds, literally. So them, not that they fell down from it, but they were like staggered by this, where it would have been like barely any impact to them, I don't think. Anyways, Shelley's isolated and dominated for much of the middle of this match. The end is the Motor City Machine Guns hit a neck breaker crossbody double team move for the win. This was a pretty good match, actually, a clear contrast of styles and speeds. There was a lot of the ref allowing both guns in the ring for a long time, so I'm sure some people will complain about that. It doesn't really bother me that much. And all in all, actually, this was a pretty decent match to start the show. I was not unhappy.
Nice.
Compared to last week, especially. Joss and Madison run down the card for tonight, and they go over the beatdown of Eddie Edwards, and Eddie will not be here tonight, which I'm also okay with. Shamrock and Sami Callihan are met by D'Amore and security as they are about to enter the building. Shamrock has been suspended for 30 days, which I'm also okay about, for his actions specifically on D'Lo, because he's an official, right? So Sami calms Shamrock.
I noted that this is kind of similar to Strowman's recent suspension.
Similar idea.
But whatever.
Sami calms Shamrock down and sends him back into the hotel and suggests Shamrock should take a vacation. Shamrock says that when he returns, he's laying hands on somebody. So there's almost a Strowman thing right there.
And he's starting.
This was fine, short segment, but let me get this straight. Here's our point of comparison. You lay your hands on an official, you get suspended. Shoot, attempt to kill someone in the ring, wrestle in the opener. Right? Am I not wrong? Is that what we're led to believe here?
I didn't even think
that you put your hands on D'Lo Brown, you're gone for a month. Be found guilty of trying to shoot someone in the middle of the ring, you're in the opener, bud. So
it's sounds so stupid.
Everything they're doing so far tonight makes Wrestle House stuff look dumber and dumber, and that's not an easy task. But anyways, Bravo confronts Larry D backstage about shooting him. Larry starts to strangle Bravo, but Dreamer shows up and chases away Bravo.
So now he's strangling him.
Right, and threatens to arrest him. Larry asks how Dreamer has that power, and Dreamer goes to show a badge, but it's not a badge. I didn't catch what it was. It was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. Dreamer accuses Larry of shooting Bravo, and I thought we settled this. Like, we did an entire...
You literally found him guilty.
Courtroom segment last week. Larry says he was set up, and Dreamer wants to take Larry down to the station.
Oh, well, I guess... Okay, I'm kind of going kayfabe, and I'm going to feel stupid, but, like...
It's okay.
It was Lawrence who said it, so...
Right. Technically, that's not Larry D.
Right. So I told you I was going to feel stupid saying that.
Dreamer wants to take him down to the station to talk, but as soon as they start to leave, Larry knocks out Dreamer, so this nonsense is going to continue.
Yay!
But this, I believe, was the only segment about this in the whole show, so that's cool. We got a Knockouts Tag Tournament match. Renee Michelle and Killer Kelly versus Jordan Grace and Jazz.
Killer Kelly and Miss Drake Maverick.
Jazz enters with a full mask and leather trench coat. She looks pretty cool. Killer Kelly, I think, has a very cool presence. I don't even know really what it is about her. I hope she stays and gets some attention. She's interesting to me. So Kelly and Grace start the match with really quickly. Lots of fast moves and reversals here. I thought they looked really good together working. Renee Michelle was in the Mae Young apparently, but I have zero recollection of her, to be honest.
Literally the only thing I remember about her is her being Drake Maverick's wife.
I assume she lost in the first round of the...
Probably.
I don't know. I don't remember her at all. So Jazz pins Michelle after hitting an X Factor, and honestly, this was pretty much a singles match between Grace and Killer Kelly, and I actually thought they worked really well together and looked good. Jazz was barely in the ring and only executed basic but aggressive-looking offense. I'm not saying she was bad, but it was just kind of basic stuff. Michelle was barely in the ring. I can't really evaluate anything she did. Overall, I actually liked this, but only because the action between Grace and Kelly I thought was interesting. So not a bad match, but again, calling it a tag match was a bit aggressive. It was mostly just Grace and Killer Kelly wrestling, but it was good.
Nice.
So we get the flashback moment of the week, which I never even mention because it happens every week, but I don't think there's a point to it.
Are they still doing it?
They do. I just don't talk about it.
I don't know.
So I even put, which I never mentioned, has the Young Bucks versus the Motor City Machine Guns. So I watched a little bit of it.
Oh, nice.
And it was basically them having this crazy ladder table combined structure set up in the middle of the ring.
I remember them doing that, like, because I remember we were watching because we wanted to see ourselves on TV because when we were in the front row.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember them doing that.
The flashbacks?
And then we haven't watched them forever. And then also, when I watch it, which I don't usually, I don't see it because I don't watch it.
And I never talk about it
right.
because, I don't know. So Machine Guns won that. I just stopped because it was a crazy looking setup with the Bucks and Generation Me, they were called back then.
Yeah.
So then we have...
they look really similar to the Young Bucks. I don't know why.
It's weird, right?
Right.
Twins. Ethan Page then speaks while Alexander stands in the background. He talks about everybody seeing him lose to Swoggle. Everyone enjoys messing with Page, and he has a plan to fix it all. He subtly and then actually admits to taking out Gallows, right? So it was him that attacked him. He challenges Carl Anderson to a match at Final Battle. If Page wins, he wants a tag title shot. So I thought this was really good, and Alexander's face in the background, right? He did a good job of showing just by his facial expressions, right, that he doesn't fully support this. I thought he did a good job without getting to say anything. You can see that he's like getting tired of Page's antics because they're very different people, right? They just kind of work together as a tag team, but he's getting tired of Page's stuff. But he isn't quite at the end of his rope yet. You can see they're sort of building to this where Alexander's going to have enough. So for now, he's just kind of behind him, like rolling his eyes and looking kind of annoyed by it all. So I really liked it. Page is awesome on the mic. This storyline is that he's becoming more and more paranoid about everyone being out to get him, and he's sort of going rogue and doing things without consulting Alexander, and I find that interesting, right? Is this the beginning of the end for the North? I want to find out either way, so I kind of enjoy this storyline, right? Because again, it's something that's realistic and could happen, and Paige is executing it well.
Feels kind of clever, I guess.
Yeah, I liked it.
Until they start beating you over the head with it.
Right. We get Tennille and Caleb backstage talking to Alicia. The wheels are in motion and Alicia has a new friend, they tell her. Caleb refers to it as a collab, which I thought was kind of funny and fits with his character perfectly. Alicia is distracted and runs off to attack Sami Callihan, obviously for hitting her husband again with a baseball bat in the head last week. So Callahan was there walking by, and security has to separate them. Tennille and Caleb tell Alicia they'll get back to her as she's being held by security, which was kind of funny too, right? They're just kind of no-selling her attack and just going, we'll talk to you later sort of thing. This was fine and progresses two storylines at once, right? You've got the Dashwood Alicia moving forward and the Edward Sammy, which I'm not thrilled with again moving forward. It's like it's the only memorable thing that's happened in Impact in the last little while, and they're just sort of going back to it, right?
Right,
the Sammy,
and except it's less realistic and less, like, it just feels like they're reverting back to it. Because I actually thought the initial feud, because that's when I really started watching, because we went to the
we were
one
there
after Slammiversary.
Yeah.
It was when, like, Eddie Edwards was playing the Psycho kind of,
Yes.
which I really enjoyed, honestly.
You did.
And I thought that was like one of his best points of his career, and now it's just like he still looks like he did when we were there, right? Like,
yep.
He's still wearing the same thing. He's still got like that beard, but then he's just playing normal Eddie Edwards.
Yep.
And and the real bat shot, I just felt like lended something just so cool about it, right? And
they're just going back to the well of something that worked. And I'm not personally interested. Maybe some are, I guess. I don't know.
And I think it worked once, and now they're just kind of, trying to go for it again.
Yep. Johnny Swinger versus Cody Deaner in a rematch of a match that Deaner lost and has been haunted by since.
Wait, honestly, Deaner versus who?
Sorry?
Deaner versus
Swinger.
Who, sir? Oh, okay.
Because honestly, who loses to Swinger? Am I right? So EY and Joe Doring, of course, show up and run Cousin Jake into the post and enter the ring. EY clotheslines Deaner and Swinger tries to make friends with Doring before taking a two-handed chokeslam. EY pile drives.
Punjabi plunge.
Yep. EY pile drives Deaner as Josh wonders what their end game is. EY grabs a mic and speaks. This will continue until our eyes are open. Young and Joe can see.
I think our eyes are open because we're kind of watching this happen. So
it's your third eye, Matt Seidel. They are the cure for the disease that has taken over.
I can't
People
do it.
need to heed Young's warnings and understand that this world doesn't belong to us, but belongs to Eric Young and Joe Doring. This was fine, but it needs to start moving forward, I think. There have now been many weeks of these beatdowns without any other type of advancement in the story or further details of Young and Doring's relationship. So it's time to start to reveal a little bit more, do something a little bit different. I don't know. We need to get Doring in a match with somebody maybe, but this has been a lot of this going on. And
maybe he can feud a former tag partner, Bart Gunn.
I still don't have a huge problem with it, but it's running the risk of too much of the same thing for me at this point. So then we get Deonna Purrazzo and Kimber Lee approach James Mitchell backstage and ask if he's changed Su Yung to Susie yet. Mitchell says that they don't understand. This isn't a quick process, and he doesn't even have Su Yung yet. Purrazzo says she can fix that easily, and they'll head to the ring, and Mitchell had better be ready. I worry about Purrazzo a little bit getting tangled up in this with James Mitchell, but I'll wait to see where they're going with it.
You shall be worried.
Right? The Deaners are angry backstage and need to fix this. Young is treating them like curtain-jerking nobodies, and they're not nobodies. Jake says that they've been attacked. Are they though? They've been attacked before, and they always get up. Cody says it's not about we, it's about him, and it's personal. So he kind of doesn't want Jake's backup here. So Cody and Eric Young were riding partners and friends when Cody was starting out. Next week, Cody will prove to Eric Young that he's not a nobody. A decent, passionate promo, actually, to end by Cody Deaner. The last part, he got really intense, and I thought he was pretty good. I doubt he'll beat Eric Young, but at least they're trying to add some depth to their story and their history by doing this little segment. So it was fine for what it was.
Nice.
I'm not a huge fan of the Deaners, but I think it might just be the way they're used for the most part. I don't think they're terrible.
Yeah, they're probably going to be used as fodder for Doring.
Well, I would imagine they are for sure. Purrazzo and Lee come to the ring, and Purrazzo has a mic. Since Bound for Glory, Su Yung has been haunting them, but tonight it ends.
Ha! They admit it.
Sue is guaranteed a rematch, and if she wants it, she had better come to the ring right now. So Su Yung makes her entrance, and Father James Mitchell follows. Mitchell didn't want to do this, but Sue has been nothing but trouble, and tonight she will pay for her sins. So Jack's favorite, the undead bridesmaids, are back.
Yeah!
And there's more of them than when we were there and saw
Yay!
them. Sue is distracted by the bridesmaids, obviously, and Purrazzo attacks. Sue fights her off and takes out Lee as she's about to attack as well. Sue is about to use the mist, but Purrazzo grabs her by the throat, and you can see the liquid bubbling and sort of running out of Sue's mouth, which was actually a really cool visual. Purrazzo hits the Gotch piledriver that she calls the Costa Nostra, I think, and the bridesmaids carry Sue Young out as Mitchell laughs maniacally. It was cool to see the bridesmaids back, and we'll see where they're going with this, right? I mean, I don't have
I
much
liked
to
when
say.
I tried to get a high five and they didn't give one to me.
Yes, I think that's come up a few times. So it was pretty cool spectacle to see them all and carrying her out, and we'll see where they go with this.
Wait, so they betrayed her?
Yes.
Oh,
They took her out. Seems like they're under the control of Father James Mitchell
that's pretty
now.
not nice.
Right? Chris Bay's push-ups backstage are interrupted by Moose. Moose has noticed what Bay is doing, beating Swan's best friend to sort of get involved with this number one contender idea, right? Bay says that he knows what Moose is doing. He wants to back up Bay tonight and get a title shot if Bay wins the title. It's kind of like you're trying to finesse the finesser thing, which I liked. Moose calls Bay a kid who doesn't get it. Moose doesn't finesse. He hurts, and that real power is taken, not given. If Bay defeats Swan, Moose will take the title whenever he chooses. He then wishes Bay good luck. I liked this. It was simple. Both of them looked good.
And they look clever.
Moose is cutting his standard promo as this character that I'm enjoying, and Bay didn't look scared, maybe slightly concerned, right? Because I didn't want him to look terrified, because I think he's a main event player too. So he looks concerned but not afraid, and this should be your main event scene, as what I'm telling you, Impact, because I know you all listen to this for sure. These two guys should be in your main event. Let's go. Gia is interrupted by Carl Anderson. He says that Page has lost his mind. He's heard Page's challenge, and even though he shouldn't, because they've already beaten the North, right? And why should they be doing anything to give them another title shot? But for his friend, he agrees. And then he says he's got a lot of friends, so he's teasing somebody coming with him, possibly. We'll see what happens there. I thought this was a fine promo. Fine promo, and it's amazing how much less annoying he is without Gallows here. So no stupid jokes, no stories of the road, no inside lingo, no promoting their merchandise, just like a regular promo. So much better. I actually kind of like Anderson without Gallows, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and he was a single star in Japan, right?
Yeah, he had actually a pretty good run. He was a lot of a tag team person, but at some point he did have a singles run. X Division Championship match, Rohit Raju versus Crazy Steve. Josh announces that you can now buy ring-worn stuff on the Impact eBay site, as if I'm going to go buy ring-worn. Here's somebody's sweaty
I always see people
shirt.
like doing that. Like, if it's autographed, then that's a little different. But
I guess.
Even then, right? Like, because if it's autographed, you can put it in a case and like, right?
True.
But like, if it's just like ring gear, it's like
weird.
Yeah.
Here's a sweatband they wore at that match. Awesome.
John Cena's sweaty armbands.
The commentators to start this match are really putting over Crazy Steve's creepy stuffed monkey a lot. It is pretty odd looking.
That moment when the stuffed animal is put over more than the actual wrestler.
It is a really creepy looking monkey, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was actually a really good competitive match. I was surprised because I figured there was going to be some comedy or interference or something going on, and there wasn't. Both competitors looked really good. It was kind of treated seriously. Rohit wins by holding on to the ropes for a 3 count after Steve goes for a crucifix pin. The ref was in a bad spot and didn't see that Rohit was full on holding on to the ropes. I actually really liked this match, even the cheating at the end, because this is what Rohit does, right? He is the weaselly, sneaky heel character who almost never wins clean.
Of all weasels.
And I like it. His advantage in competitive matches is that he's willing to cheat or do anything to hang on to the title, right?
Which almost like raises the prestige of the title because he cares about it so much, right? Like he's doing whatever to keep it.
And it's also saying, it's a really talented division and whatever. It's pretty competitive matches, but
that's what he has to do.
His advantage is he's a cheater. Crazy Steve looked good here too, and I think he's a credible opponent in this X division. And I'm thrilled for him because I like him. He seems to be moving away from the Wrestle House cast, right? Like he's somehow broken free of that storyline and is doing something different.
And I think it's amazing because he is legally blind.
And they actually made multiple references this week to him being blind in promos.
And it's incredible.
I don't know if I didn't make notes or I just haven't gotten to it, but there was comments made about his not being able to see. Myers later calls him a blind clown, I think. So the main event now is Chris Bay versus Willie Mack. And I thought this was a pretty good match as well, but I really don't understand the finish at all, which saw Willie Mack win after a pop-up forearm and a stunner. So Bay loses clean to a guy who's getting destroyed by a Moose in recent matches, but Bay is the one in a title match. I honestly can't understand the logic of this, the finish of this match. Why would you not? How does it hurt Willie Mack to lose to Chris Bay as he's ascending to a title shot? I really don't understand the finish here. Even though I like Willie Mack, who needs a win here? Obviously Chris Bay, so this didn't make sense to me. But the closing image basically is Chris Bay standing tall holding up the Impact Championship, and it looked really good. You need to pull the trigger on this, Impact. Give this guy the title. Let him have it and see where we go. So overall, I quite like this show, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it had significantly less Wrestle House member presence than previous episodes, right? In my opinion, there were no bad matches this week, and this is a really big rebound from what I thought was a really bad show last week. And I actually am going to give this show a B+ because it went by quickly. The matches were good. Segments and promos were not offensive. Wrestle House, or whatever you want to call it, who shot Johnny Bravo nonsense was at a minimum. So I really enjoyed this show this week.
Good. You love to hear it.
Right? And next week, I have a feeling are you going to check it out with me, or are you just going to watch highlights?
I'm just going to probably at least watch the Omega thing.
Well, for sure. So I imagine Impact should be putting together a pretty big show for next week, Rick. If they're smart, they're going to have probably literally millions of eyeballs. Well, maybe not millions.
Right, but like they need some good talent on display to get some people drawn to the product.
Right, so this is where I think like a guy like Chris Bay, if you've never seen him before, especially if they let him do his finisher, which is like a springboard backwards cutter off the ropes, looks really cool. Like just showcase some people, so people that think they're turning in for one time might go, maybe I'll check it out again next week. I like wrestling. So I'm hoping for a really strong show next week to give them a little bit of a boost in the ratings or a boost in viewership or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are you ready for the only other thing I have really that I think we could do is War Games predictions?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that's
right. So I can't remember. We did predictions for the last show, and how did I do?
Pretty sure you did pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure I picked every single match right.
Okay.
Right? So I'm on a hot streak. Let's see. So in the order I have them, just sort of whatever order I picked, Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes in a strap match.
It pains me to say it, but Dexter Lumis.
I will take Grimes. I just think he's been booked to look so weak that he's got to get he's got to get a chance to.
Oh, dang. Yeah, no, I won't pick. I'll stick with it. I don't really care. I don't really care.
Tommaso Ciampa versus Timothy Thatcher.
I want Thatcher to win, but I think Ciampa.
I took Ciampa as well, and I already typed in Ciampa for you because I thought it was a pretty obvious choice. Because I just think that they're rebuilding Ciampa, right, and that he's more of a star. Even though I like Thatcher, Ciampa's a star, and they're gonna give him the star treatment maybe again. So we'll see. I take Ciampa. Ruff, Priest, Gargano for the North American Championship.
That sounds really tough, but given the ghost face thing,
yep,
I'm gonna go Gargano.
I am feeling the same. Boring.
Like, I don't know.
I agree. I don't think it's going to stay on Ruff. Although maybe that's the point, right? Is that something happens between Gargano and Priest and they get whatever and Ruff ends up sneaking a win. I could see as well.
But I'm going to stick with it.
Me too. I'm going to take Gargano. And Team Shotzi versus Team Candice LeRae. I have no idea. I have no logic. Sometimes I have logic behind my choices. This one I'm not.
I have no idea, so I'm going to go Team Candice because they're the superior team.
All right, so I'll just for the sake of this, I'll take Team Shotzi.
And I refuse to root
I figured
for Shotzi.
That was part of your logic, was I'm not picking Shotzi to win anything ever.
And I just don't know, and I just think, honestly, like, if you think about it, Candice has the better team. Like
men's War Game match. Era versus...
Undisputed Era. They're baby faces. They gotta win. It's about time they win War Games for the first time since the first one.
And I'll take the brand, just to be contrary, I guess. And I really don't know. Again, I don't have a lot of logic behind it, but I just feel the Era's been booked really weakly, and I don't know. I just think that they're gonna have more plans for McAfee and his group right now. You want to switch to the brand?
Yeah.
Ooh, picking against the Era.
I really don't want to go against them,
but my irrefutable logic, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, so I don't know. How are you looking forward to the show? I'm always looking forward to takeovers. There's always a part of me that gets excited for takeovers because 90% of them have been like excellent shows. So I'm sure the in-ring will be good, but going into it, I'm not that excited.
Yeah.
Like Loomis Grimes, even
Other
though
than it just being a takeover.
Loomis Grimes, even though I love Grimes and I kind of like Loomis, doesn't seem like a War Games match
There's
to
only
me.
one title match here, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of disappointing.
Yep. So
But
I don't know. I'm sure the matches will be good and we'll get some cool spots
especially
out of it.
given that Balor is free, like.
My hope is that we love it so much we're motivated to do a bonus episode again. I like the bonus episodes, but we'll see. We'll see, folks.
We'll see.
All right. Anything else that you have for any other wrestling business?
No.
Okay, so why don't we?
I do not.
A bit of a shorter episode this week. We're just over 2 hours right now,
because
buddy.
wasn't the last one
3.
Yeah.
All right, so let's transition into our last segment, which is where Jack takes a few minutes to talk about the world of wrestling action figures in Figuring It Out with Jack.
Yeah. This is where I do stuff. So we got some new figure series reveals up on Ringside. Some pre-orders. We got a new Elite series. We got a new 2-pack series. We got a new basic series. So our first series is going to be Angel Garza, Rhea Ripley, Roman Reigns, Jeff Hardy, Buddy Murphy, and Sheamus. Based on render images we already have, we know the Buddy Murphy is going to be his disciple attire, which is fine. It looks cool, and you're going to get a cloth Seth Rollins Messiah tank top. But I really like Buddy Murphy's shorts, and his first Elite had a really cool mold for the shorts, and I really liked it. But I guess they're going to divert from that here. But given Murphy's recent face turn, he has started wearing the shorts again, so I think this will be his only disciple attire. And then Sheamus is going to be your current Sheamus with his current hair and whatnot. Rhea Ripley's getting her first Elite here. It looks pretty cool. Hopefully it doesn't have her crappy blonde hair.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Angel Garza's got his light blue trunks, which looks pretty nice. And then Jeff Hardy and Roman Reigns, we don't know. I'm hoping we get a Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, but it might be too early for that.
I feel like it would be, but
Jeff Hardy is your Chase variant, so hoping for 2 different face paints here.
Obviously. Always hoping for as much face paint as we can have, right?
Yep. And he's had some cool ones lately, so we'll see what we can get. But
that's the comparison.
Right
honestly, you're not going to love this, and I think I've mentioned before someone else's comparison, but I fully agree. Shotzi Blackheart is Jeff Hardy. A little bit sloppy, the
worse.
odd botch, right? They kind of do things a little unorthodox.
Except Jeff Hardy does better.
Willing to take risks, but there's some sloppiness in there.
Yeah,
I think
Jeff Hardy's risks are better.
I honestly think it's a really fair comparison, though.
I guess.
Anyway, sorry.
All right, so then we got basic 117. We got Roman Reigns again. So again, hoping for a Tribal Chief, even if it's a basic, I think, because the basics don't have the articulation, right? So they could really get a smooth tattoo on the back, right, if they wanted to.
Yep.
With the shirtless Roman Reigns, which I don't think they've done in basic form, right? Because the basics used to have the removable vest, like, just like the Elite, but now it's just like molded on.
Yeah.
But so I'd like to see one of these figures has to be a Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, either the Elite or basic, and I will buy either one.
Nice.
Then we also got Undertaker. I would like to honestly see just a retro Undertaker because I feel like that would just be interesting, given it's Undertaker 30 recently. So I just think it'd be a cool tribute figure. And then we got Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. Don't give a crap about that. And another one I don't give a crap about, Toni Storm, who's also your Chase variant. Whoop-de-doo.
Does it look cool, though? Because she has some cool
I don't know.
gear and
there
stuff.
was rendered images, I think, but none available on the website, so I'm not sure. We got Championship Showdown 2-packs Series 3. So the first one, in my opinion, most interesting one, Fiend and Daniel Bryan. Which I think will be based on either Royal Rumble 2020, which is their strap match, or Survivor Series 2019, which was their match prior.
Right.
Because so the image that they use for like the promo or whatever, it does show the Royal Rumble match, but in the first series, it showed like Jeff Hardy and Undertaker from like some other thing, and it turned out to be their 2002 match. You know what I mean? Like it was a little misleading.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. It could be either one, and then Kane and Edge is your next one, and I think that'll be, they had like an late 2010, early 2011 feud over the World Heavyweight title, and I know involved like Paul Bearer and stuff and whatnot.
I kind of remember that.
So I think that's what it's going to be based on. That's what the picture is, and I can't think of any other time they've had a title match. And then we also got Ric Flair and the Giant, which kind of surprised me there. And I believe this is going to be from the April 22nd 1996 episode of Nitro when the Giant defeated Ric Flair for the WCW Championship.
Right.
And I think that's the only real option there. So,
Nice.
but it looks like an interesting series. And what I think they're doing with these Showdown 2-packs is the first series on the packaging says rivalries from Raw, which was true because all the matches were title matches from Raw.
Right.
Then the series 2 was SmackDown Superstars, which was all SmackDown title matches. And this one seems to be pay-per-views, so which I think is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That
some
sounds
cool
good.
reveals. I'm really excited for Angel Garza, not gonna lie, and another Jeff Hardy.
Nice. Angel Garza with the pants ripping off? No, right?
I feel like, I mean, they could. If they do, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I feel like it'd be kind of difficult to get the ripping off.
Velcro.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
Hopefully.
Well, I guess that takes us to the end of episode 20 of our show.
Yeah.
Thanks to anyone and everyone that makes it this far or that even listens at all, to be honest, even if you don't finish the whole show.
We did get a review on, what was it on?
We did. We got a random review on iTunes, a 5-star review, very complimentary.
So thank you to whoever did that.
Yeah, whoever you are, feel free to email us.
Contact us, and we'll give you a shout out.
Any questions you have about anything is very welcome. I would love to.
And anyone else who's listening, please feel free to leave a review. It would probably help us out a lot if anyone else who's considering listening to us, if they see reviews, they might be more likely to listen to it. So please leave a review if you'd like to.
Rate us, subscribe, follow, all those things. Like, listen, whatever it is on whatever platform you listen. Because at this point, I don't even shout out the platforms anymore. Pretty much anywhere you want to listen to.
We just got on iHeart Radio,
and I believe we're on TuneIn as well. But again, they're a pay service, so they don't get any of my money, and I won't even bother with a free trial just because I know it's on there. So thanks to everybody for listening to us. I'm still having a blast doing this. I think Jack is for the most part as well. So you can count on us on Saturdays for the foreseeable future, maybe even an odd bonus episode thrown in.
Depending on how good TakeOver is. It is tomorrow night, so we'll see. If we do it, I'll definitely post about it.
So please contact us, fnswrestling@gmail.com. That will come to me, and on Instagram we are FNS_Wrestling_podcast, and that will be more sent to Jackson than myself.
Yeah, so you got ways to contact either of us.
And please do. We'd love to hear from any of you. And that being said, I think we're going to sign off for the week. So have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you back here next week. So take care.